It's good music. It's good stuff. We're gonna turn it down a little bit though. That was pretty hype. Hyped enough for a good day. Welcome, folks. Good to see you. Are we It's so nice to look over at the camera and see like a background I enjoy behind me. Shout out Mrs. T. Love the design. We're still working on it. It's coming together though. We're working on a lot. You may have noticed there were a couple less videos coming from me this week. We've been busy, but things should be back to normal next week. That being said, while we've been busy, Star Citizen has not. And this week we got FPS. Uh-oh, camera FPS is low. Hold on, I can fix that. This week we had some server meshing news come out. Finally. Holy crap. I've been kind of saying for the last couple months that one of the big things that dictates how this might be our frame rate doesn't seem that low. Might be compensating though, exposure wise. Let me see what we can do about that. Turn down our shutter speed, or rather turn up our shutter speed. Yeah, it looks pretty fast, but now we need to boost our ISO. Oh my god, I gotta boost it so high to compensate. See, this is why I like auto exposure. It's easier that way. We will let's see how the camera holds up. I guess it might be a little low for now. I still don't have control of my lights. There are still some things we're figuring out. But like I said, we've been putting stuff together. Just put together our bathroom. Did a couple extra things in the bedroom. Slowly cleaning up, and it's becoming a living space, which is nice. But what I was saying before was server meshing news has come out. Finally, I don't know if it's news yet. I haven't actually watched this. But it's supposedly, this is our update on server meshing. It's the first one we've had, officially speaking, in 2 or 3 months. And I don't really know what it includes. So that's what we're going to start with today. And then we're going to get over to the monthly report for June, which from the skimming I've done, has some really nice improvements and things to report on. Economy, new ships, all that kind of stuff. So this is going to be a nice long day. Not too long, actually. Around the same time day. But we're going to get through a lot of details, a lot of good information. And I hope you guys enjoy. Welcome in, everybody. How you doing? How you doing? There's not what? Good information? Lord save me. I live for good information, though. What you're saying is killing my soul. Bluntosaurus. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Valis, Vastin, Space Marine, John Doom. Who was dancing? Who was dancing? Who was dancing in the start? I know Vastin was. Stacy, welcome. PK Knuckles. Good to see you all. Icarus. Kangaroo Maxi. Who wants to tell Tomato Chat? Tell us what? What are you telling us? What is it? Give us the good news. It better be good news. If it's not good news, I'm kicking you out. Flopalore and Jeremiah. Hello, folks. AK, Commander, and Jin. Jin! Just the person I was hoping would be in here for this. Welcome in, buddy. I was just telling Mrs. Tomato. I'm excited to watch this episode. I'm pumped to see the server meshing team talk on camera. Welcome, man. I hope your summer's going well. Hope work's treating you well. Hope you get a little, let's say less stress. I actually don't even know what it's like, but man, I hope your stress levels or your workload rather gets to drop at some point soon. Got an audio delay? Yeah. You know, now that we've got a more permanent setup here, I can start to focus on things like audio delays and branding stuff, and you'll see some improvements there. But for today, you may just have to deal with the audio delay just a little bit longer. Just pretend that my mouth's not actually moving when it does. That's not hard, right? No STL today. Yeah, that means they're not going to rob us of viewers for this monthly report watch. Usually STL does drain the Star Citizen category a bit of viewers. But I'm bummed because I also rescheduled the podcast. So podcast was supposed to be today with Jack Axton to talk about the new cargo updates and stuff. But I rescheduled it to tomorrow so that we'd have a chance to kind of digest the Star Citizen Live and talk about those details a lot. But looks like we're not going to get it. So We'll be going into this podcast with just half an explanation of the cargo missions, but you'll see that podcast on Monday. Unless you're a supporter, you can come join us live tomorrow. I think it'll be around 8 a.m. Central Time, somewhere around there. It's pretty early. You know, we're kind of out here. Pedro, good to see you. Welcome in, DNC Master, the Glass Sword, Kangaroo, Maxi. I already said hi to you, but I like the name, so I'm going to say it again. Also, your name is blue in here. It's pretty cool. Azrin, there's no new details in this ISC. It's kind of a mini documentary of everything happened. Okay. Well, I mean, I hope there's at least feedback of how things are going, but we'll see. It's okay on your connection? Oh, that's good to hear. How's the AC there? AC is not very common here. But we went through the process. We went through the trouble of getting ourselves a unit. So our house, we keep it cool. We've got big windows on the west side of the house. So we cover those up starting about 2 p.m. And we generally keep our shades down, air conditioning on. We keep it cool because a tomato does not do well in the sweltering heat. Sweltering. The humidity is not good for tomato skin. Gets all wrinkly. We don't like that. Luna Maria, hello, good to see you. Switching your membership to this account so the timer is restarting. Wait, I thought you were on that account. How hot does it get in Turkey? Ooh, depends on where you are. Down in the south, hundreds Fahrenheit. In the central, yeah, I mean, generally most places it gets very, very hot. Most places it also gets pretty cold. But Turkey is surrounded by sea almost. It's basically one big peninsula of a country, so there's a lot of fresh, sea air currents that sweep in a lot of cool air. We live on the coast here on the Black Sea, so we're seeing the same kind of wind patterns as Bulgaria, Ukraine, and Russia. So like, yeah, it can get hot, but it can also stay pretty cool. Nice Mediterranean climate. Lots of humidity though, at least out here on the coast. In the center, it's like high mountains and steppes, so you're getting more dry air, less oxygen, all that jazz. Usually watch on YouTube only, so good to tune in live. Oh, you can watch live on YouTube as well. We're currently live on the main channel if you want to stay there. Glad to have you wherever you are though, Kangaroo. The problem is CIG does not have the resources to comply with weak CCP China commie rules. That's... Where did that come from? What problem is that? I don't recall talking about that problem. You've done research. Ubisoft did this and altered their games in a very bad way to comply. It can harm CIG. That's completely out of left field. What? Samuel, you're gonna have to give me some context on that. M Judge, hey, thanks for popping in live. Good to see you. Welcome to the first live show. They usually start with this rambling and hellos for the first couple of minutes, so if you're late, you don't really miss too much. And whenever somebody has to edit this down to a deep dive, sorry. All right, though. I got through my hellos. Everybody's here. Let us talk about server meshing. So for anybody who doesn't know, I feel like at this point everybody mostly knows, server meshing is pretty important to Star Citizen. Arguably the most important thing in existence when it comes to Star Citizen. This is what defines whether or not this game can actually become the MMO it wants to be, or if... Honestly, I don't even know what the or is if this didn't work. But this has been a long time coming. First, I think publicly kind of announced and made a milestone of in, gosh, was it 2018? Road to Release 2018, CitizenCon, I believe. They talked about all the different things they wanted to hit, and server meshing was at the end of that list. Now, doesn't mean when server meshing is complete, the game is complete, but it does mean when server meshing is complete, or rather released and matured and stable, the rest of the game can really start to take a step forward towards that 1.0 goal, which we won't really talk about today because I know that triggers some folks. But today, we are going to talk about server meshing and see what the kind of update they've got for us. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy my rambles. Cheers.
The Core Technology Group. Bunch of big brains found in all 5 of our studios. These are the folks that have been working to expand Star Citizen beyond the limitations of the traditional client-server model. to distribute what would have been the work of a single server across many. This work has many parts.
I saw Benoit.
But the collective name for all the technologies that allow this to happen, we call simply server meshing. Beginning late last year, the newly created Tech Preview channel was used for a series of tests. And while the work of server meshing is that of
Jared's getting his Attenborough on. I like it. Keep it up, dude. Little documentary.
Our entire development staff, toiling in concert with the core technology group, we asked members of the small but dedicated UK networking team to speak on their behalf. This is Dev Diary server meshing.
WoW calls it server phasing. There's also, it seems, a similar technology being worked on at Rockstar called, I think, seamless server multiplayer or something like that. I don't remember. I want to do a video about it though. I definitely would love to compare the development timelines of GTA 6 and Star Citizen, but specifically server meshing, I think is going to be an interesting comparison between the two. Anyways, sorry. Also, I don't think WoW does it the same way, right? This is simultaneous loading. Doesn't WoW have a kind of like a barrier sort of thing? I feel like the games that do this right now are Dual Universe. Oh man, I remember going over this. They stopped using the spatial OS for scavengers, I think. Can't remember. I don't think there are many engines or games that do the same thing as this technology. Jin, maybe you could help me out there. Oh, thank you. I don't actually need it today. Thank you. Why do people keep comparing it to WoW? It's nothing like what WoW does. I've actually not really seen people compare it to WoW too much. That's the first time I've seen it compared to WoW, but I don't think it's the same stuff. Oh yeah, Ashes of Creation. That's right. They are looking at something like that as well.
Yeah, that was a nerve-wracking one for us because it was the first time, going out public with such a big fundamental change for how we run the game.
Replication layer network code split out from the dedicated game server.
That's a sick shirt.
Running in its own service we call the hybrid
Holy
server.
crap, wait, I feel like we haven't seen Clive in a long time. A good long while. Wowzers. It's a name I haven't seen in a long time, I feel.
So these tests are not just for us in Cortec. These are also for the game side as well, so they can actually see their systems functioning along with server meshing. It's kind of one cohesive whole.
So that was the first time trying to deploy that kind of environment, which is radically different from what we've had to do before. One of the major purposes of Tech Preview is to expose the game to a much wider audience so that the rest of the development team can see more of their work exposed, really help us pick up on all the little corner and edge cases that we don't necessarily spot if we only have a handful of people testing.
So it's really good to, have other development teams look at the tech from, a development perspective and on a live environment as well.
In Alpha 3.18, we introduced the replication layer, our first major milestone towards server meshing. It offloaded the entire state of the universe, things like characters, ships, weapons, and more, away from the game server, which we call the DGS. It wasn't the smoothest process, but the work of splitting the replication layer to be shared between the client and EGS into a new hybrid service still needed to be done, as was testing of a brand new server crash recovery system that was long overdue. These would be the focus of our first 2 Tech Preview tests, and everyone was excited to learn everything we could with help from the community.
Basically, we learned that it worked.
Went surprisingly well for us.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah, good job. It worked.
We learned that, the technology was working kind of as we expected. It was surprising how well it actually worked.
For the backers, the major change that they would have observed through these tests was the improvement for server crash recovery. So the first outing with server crash recovery, we were talking 25, 30-minute recovery times, frequent crashes all over the place.
It's almost like we're pulling the tablecloth out from underneath everybody at once. So it requires people to make some interesting considerations and kind of shimmy that tablecloth back underneath with the new server.
So if the server crashes, the game state still survives. We can spin up another server, and when it connects again, the new server connects again. It can get all the game state back, and clients can continue on their merry way.
It's basically server meshing for game code all at once in like one big giant transition.
But I think by the time we were getting to this, second and third tests, we're starting to see things dramatically quicker and dramatically more reliable.
Yeah, I think I was probably expecting it to explode. Yeah, pretty hard. But we were surprised that the game code worked as well as it did without needing changes.
Backers have a way of...
Honestly, it's really fun to hear the people who work on this be like, it worked. Like, they've been putting a lot of work and time into this, and it's great that they got to release it publicly and not have it just kind of fall back down, but have something to be proud of. Good for them. Luna Maria and Wobbly, thank you both for the memberships over on YouTube. Appreciate you. Enjoy the new member exclusive video, which should be coming next week, but also the lovely perks of exclusive emotes. I don't actually know if we have those on YouTube, but thank you. Joining and getting no toes sound. Really? There's no notifications. Should be getting notifications on YouTube. Strange. I'll have to look into that.
Finding and breaking things. So yeah, having a good few hours testing in Bacchus hands in a more or less real-world environment was incredibly valuable.
Of course, this is still game development, and these were tests, not just for the core technology group, but for every other dev team to see just how much work they still had ahead of them. Work that continues today, adapting all of Star Citizen's various game systems to the realities of server meshing.
We found that there were some gameplay systems that weren't quite ready for server crash recovery, that could cause some issues when a server crashes and one takes its place. So that kind of allowed us to kind of create a bunch of bugs and send them out to various gameplay teams.
What's cyclical crashing?
Basically, when the server then tries to recover, start back up, it would then deserialize the state that we had stored previously, and the state itself was corrupt, so it would just crash, and it would just keep trying. Pretty annoying. A lot of people were like, let's turn off server crash recovery, that's the problem, when actually, no, it wasn't the problem. It was just the state it was in. When it is working, it works very well.
Star Citizen is a large company.
That is a question that I saw a lot come up on our own chat here on the stream, and I never knew what to say about it because I don't actually know how this stuff works that well. I know about as well as anybody else who's watched these videos far too many times, but I'm not in the building working on it. And people would ask, like, wouldn't this just recover the server into whatever made it crash already? And I feel like they would have thought about that beforehand. They probably did, but I'm glad that it sounds like as a problem, it's not something that caught them off guard or that they didn't think they could fix. That being said, I don't really know the full state of server crash recovery because ever since 3.23, I haven't really seen that many crashes, and maybe that's why, but I haven't seen that many recoveries either.
Complex game, every little bit of it across core tech and the actual game system has to function perfectly for server meshing to work. The test allowed us to point to parts of the code where things didn't function, so we could go back to the game teams and say, you need to go back and you need to rework this particular system.
Being able to allow the replication layer to kind of soak is kind of how we were able to get it from basically having things work for the first time to a production-ready product.
Making sure that we were in a good state so that we could progress with the next set of tech preview tests.
It had worked twice now?
Yes, yeah, the overconfidence was starting to grow, yes.
With 2 successful trials in the can, the team broke for the holidays, returning in January with more tests, more fixes, more bugs to discover, and even improvements to the very manner in which we collected and analyzed data itself.
At this point now, it's not only about just getting server crash recovery working, but we're really starting to see changes come in from the game teams for the various systems that interact with it. So from those early tests, people would have seen a loss of state for certain systems or things that just didn't recover well. If you ended up in, a weird condition where, let's just say you were in the middle of respawning during a server crash.
But this is when we were noticing, a lot of major spikes, and a player tries to interact with a door or a ship or tries to pick up something, and they could be waiting several minutes for something to actually happen. But then it was also other game code as well. Other teams, send in sort of like serialized variables and messages across the network. Some of them were like being sent twice, which obviously is not ideal, because if we're sending messages twice, we only need to send it once. Then we've got two messages being sent, which is, the backlog or the queue is just going to get busier a lot quicker. So between now and then, data, analytics, metrics, making sure that the development team have the information that they need when they request it as well, and having our back-end dashboard set up so information is correct and not incorrect, because we don't want to provide incorrect results.
We're starting to see fixes for those kind of strange cases start to come in. So the overall experience at this point now would have been much more solid.
At this point, after a series of necessary wins and a reconfiguration of our analytics dashboard, with clients and servers now both connected.
Hey, Small Stone Pure, you know that us here in the chat, we're not making Star Citizen, right? Should send your messages to this studio, not here. We're just watching. I don't think that it's necessarily a crash recovery because they expect the servers to crash a lot. I think it's more so just so that when it does crash, it doesn't really affect things going on. I'm pretty sure other games have crash recoveries too that work like this. You don't see it because they've already figured it out. It works perfectly. It doesn't show itself during the actual running of the game, which hopefully this wouldn't either at some point.
Connecting to the hybrid service, ready to put an end to the DGS crashes causing players to get disconnected, it was time to move to the next major milestone. Testing configurations of multiple DGSs connected to the same hybrid service. Or, put simply, our first true server mesh.
The next milestone in our tech preview testing was February 29th, which was the first time that we attempted to have two solar systems running on two DGSs connected to the same hybrid service, and clients basically able to connect through them, choose which solar system they wanted to play in, and go and play.
So this one was the big surprise. So we were really excited to finally get multiple DGSs and multiple solar systems out there into the hands of the backers for testing. And also this was a huge milestone for the platform teams, because it's their first time having to deploy a full-on server mesh with multiple DGSs out to our live environment. That was a super exciting test.
We still had the single hybrid, which for us, having a single hybrid manage the state of multiple servers was a huge, huge milestone. And with those, there may have been some bugs, some interestingness. Being able to see crash recovery actually occur and then succeed on the Pyro server really proved to us that we're kind of getting to that kind of milestone point.
We had tried it internally first, but yeah, with the tech previews, it tends to be pretty hot. What you see is the build that we've created the day before. It's kind of a bit of a wing and a prayer to hope that it is actually going to work. We got a lot of data.
I mean, that's kind of how we're playing the game normally too.
Our performance, and it all seems to be holding up pretty well.
You keep saying surprisingly well. Were you expecting this to just fall in its face?
Yes, I've been working in games a long time, and for things to work first time is very unusual. So yeah, I was fully expecting something to explode and for us to have to patch something up.
A little bit of anxiety, I feel, with teams that we never tried anything quite like this before, and the tech might not actually cope with it, and then we might have to cancel the test. Things, thankfully, went really, really, really well. Generally speaking, when we tested server meshing stuff out, it's tended to behave better than people expected at the time. So yeah, we've kind of gotten lucky with some of this stuff.
However, as awesome as it was to finally see two star systems running on the same DGS, there was still one last-minute disappointment.
Hey, we know that post-it. That's the post-it from the last episode of Server Meshing Updates. The legendary post-it. Oh my god, it's way back there. There it is! Yeah, I talked to 10pound42 about this post-it quite a bit when it came out.
Still one last-minute disappointment for every member of the team.
Unfortunately, we had a last-minute issue with the jump points that meant they weren't quite going to make it for that test.
Originally, we were trying to make it so that the jump gates were functional, and you could have done solar system transitions via the jump gates. We didn't manage to make that in time.
I remember being very upset that jump points decided not to work at the last minute. But there
Same.
was an issue with the jump points where if someone used it, the radius to pull in people from the server to go to Pyro was essentially the size of the universe. So if you used the jump point, everyone in Stanton was going to Pyro whether they wanted to or not.
That's actually a really funny problem. Everybody just gets, you're like 50 million kilometers away, you just get sucked into a new star system for no reason. Did I just discover a new jump point?
And so you had to, so how did you enforce people not using it?
I don't actually remember. I think it was just said, no, don't.
And the people behaved?
If I remember, only one person tried it and it broke, so nothing happened, which, very lucky.
Only one person tried?
And then
Star Citizen community. Newfound respect, also newfound disappointment. Why aren't you trying to break things? Come on.
only a week later, on March 7th, the first successful test of a jump point assisted server transition occurred.
For us in the UK, the tech preview releases tend to go out like 11 midnight kind of time. And I stayed up and hopped on to kind of give it a look, and the excitement that we had from being able to like actually see us, like thousands of players in a queue, jump through the jump points, and for things to work with minimal issues is a very exciting time for us.
I sat by the Pyro jump gate, watching the first backers come through from Stanton. Myself, a whole bunch of the team were online watching that happen. Amazing to see it, kind of culmination of, years of work by dozens of teams and hundreds of people.
I remember being really happy because everyone was thrilled. All the backers were really thrilled that they actually saw it themselves. I remember the players going through the gate and smashing into each other on the other side. They would just come out of the gate and somebody would be parked there from having just come through, and they would crash into each other. They would spin out. It was really funny.
Yeah, it's pretty...
Like, come on, vacate the premises, yo. You just got to a new star system. Why are you sitting in your ship? But also, that's pretty funny. Little troll the players, just have everybody land on top of each other.
It was pretty great having people actually be able to do it, something they'd been waiting for God knows how long.
Seeing people actually use the jump gates for the first time, that was like really exciting. That I think brought home to the community at large that this was actually server meshing, that we're actually doing the real tech here, and it actually works. And yeah, we knew it all along, but yeah, it told everybody else.
You're watching my first YouTube live and I said Pyro's coming next year? Dude, I was saying that for like 4 years straight. Actually, my most popular video on the channel still, to this day, is a video previewing Star Citizen 4.0, planned to come in about a year and a half, or I think a year and a half, somewhere around that from the video's posting, and that video was posted in summer of 2022. So I have had adequate egg on my face for trusting CIG on when 4.0 is coming. Luckily, it's actually on the release view now, but yeah, that has been a sticking point for a long time, server meshing and 4.0 and all that jazz. It's frustrating. Don't believe it until it's committed on the release view. That's the word. That's the rule.
Yeah, we're doing the real deal here.
Yeah, I knew it would.
Oh, you knew it would work.
In that run-up, we tested nothing but the jump gates, because that was our focus, so...
QA is so cynical that if they say it works,
it's gonna
you can
work,
believe it.
yeah.
All right.
It's gonna work.
That works.
The nice part is that now at least we know the technology works. Like all these other times when it was like, oh, 4.0 is coming next year. We didn't actually have anything tangible for that other than the fact that they had it scheduled internally or whatever, or they at least wanted to schedule it internally. But now players have literally played in a server meshed environment, which is a lot. And I lost my light, which is a lot nicer, more reliable than previous years.
And with these first successful tests now having proven out the project's ability to simultaneously operate 2 star systems across 2 DGSs on a single shard, the time was fast approaching to test the other core functionality of server meshing technology, the subdivision of an entire star system across multiple servers.
We'd done the jump gate, so we focused on just having the Stanton system again, but this time we split the Stanton system between multiple DGSs.
It's super exciting now to finally deliver on what I think a lot of people's vision of server meshing is, which is a single solar system being divided into multiple areas that are all being managed by multiple DGSs.
We were once again really nervous about how this is going to work. The subdivision of Stanton up into multiple servers is technically a risky thing to do.
So the way that we did that is we kind of carved up the Stanton solar system into what we call territories, and then we'd assign those territories to different numbers of DGSs. And while we were doing that, we also tried increasing the player cap. We tried 2 DGSs, 200 players, 3 DGSs, 400 players, 4 DGSs, 400 players, and then we just decided to go a bit nuts, and we tried 6 DGSs and 800 players. And that was really to stress the system, test server crash recovery, and kind of, get all the performance information about how the hybrid service is able to handle these higher numbers of DGSs and higher numbers of players.
And seeing 800 players in a shard and seeing the screenshots on Reddit, very exciting to see that what we had made was capable of that, though there's certainly improvements to be made.
We actually exposed a bug during that one where you would drop out of quantum travel right at the transition point.
When someone would transition across that border, they would just vanish. So yeah, it made it very obvious where the borders are.
All the backers were like, oh, we know where the server boundaries are.
That was accidental, but it provided us a fantastic testing opportunity.
That's like how it works normally, right? With games where you have some kind of a server transition, you pop into the server and suddenly that person's gone or like completely dislocated or something.
Because people could really hammer all sorts of crazy conditions at the boundary to see, shooting other ships across the boundary and all throwing cargo boxes across and watching it all largely work.
Shooting across it, EVAing across it, lots of testing that we weren't really expecting to get out of that actually happened. And for the most part, it held up really well.
This configuration of star systems, broken up into multiple territories.
Dang, they got automatic doors in that studio.
Parts of the playable space, like a planet or moon, distributed between whichever number of DGSs are available, and spreading the simulation workload across all the DGSs in the mesh, is what will one day allow us to seamlessly move or transition players throughout the galaxy without immersion-breaking loading screens. But with this first series of tests now completed, it was time to step back and ready the replication layer split and server crash recovery for Alpha 3.23.
I watch a lot of streamers and videos, and everyone was really happy. And that makes me happy. That makes me motivated to do my job.
When the RL split went out in 3.23, we didn't see too many problems. And things seem to be working very well. And I believe that's largely can be attributed to the amount of testing that we've done, kind of leading up with the backers and with the public.
When General QA was testing it, when they first got their eyes on it, you could hear a pin drop when they were testing it. It was so quiet. People were so worried about it. And then when the test was over, they were floored, essentially. They didn't realize that tech had already been put into the game, and it was actually pretty incredible that it worked so well.
The server recovery stuff was always something we have to get into Star Systems to make the whole thing work. The crash recovery stuff required a lot of work on the game team side of things just to make sure that their systems is compatible, so that when we do have the crash recovery, their systems will recover along with the actual server.
It's a testament to our approach to all of this with Tech Preview, with getting all of this out into the hands of the backers super early. It's given us an environment and a place to mature this tech. So at the time that we came around to delivering it for real in the live release with 3.23, we had really good confidence that it was going to work, that it was going to be a good experience, and I think for the large part, that's been true.
With Alpha 3.23 now out, there's still work to be done, and a new series of trials have already begun by the time this episode airs.
Between now and 4.0, we've got a lot of work to do, both on the tech side of things within Core Tech Group with the teams who are actually working on server meshing. There's a lot of work to do on the game side of things. We've got to work with the game teams very, very closely. Pretty much every system in the whole game is affected by server meshing to some extent.
More tech previews in the lead up to 4.0. That should help us harden like some subdivision, multi-system split, and kind of see where we can kind of push things.
Every time they bump up the test, like more and more people, I'm just like, oh, now we're going to find more stuff that we don't know about. Oh no, there's more work coming.
My team's also improving tooling as well, making sure the health of the content is, and the world we're building is the best it can be.
Ultimately, these steps between now and Alpha 4.0 and the continuing work beyond are only made possible by the support of fellow developer and tech preview tester alike. And it's these efforts that keep the teams moving forward towards these difficult but attainable milestones.
Has there ever been a point in the last 5 years where you lost faith?
No.
Really?
No, yeah, no. No, I mean, there have been some, it's been a bit rocky at times. But I never lost faith because I believe in the tech.
I don't think we could have done this anywhere else.
They have been like banging this out for a long time. Throughout all this time, when our focus, and I think this is my favorite part of this whole thing of following game development. You could be paying attention to so many different things nonstop, and something will still slip past, and having been worked on, suddenly surprise you with the progress, or come out of nowhere and remind you that it's being worked on. And server meshing was always chugging along in the background for like 6 years. They've been hitting it with different iterations, different tech. I'm sure they hit certain spots and then had to turn back and figure something else out and keep going. And it's cool to see it finally culminate into something. I do hope that we get to see it this year on the Persistent Universe. But regardless, it sounds like we'll be getting more previews and more tech previews on it. So I'm excited to finally get to play it because I didn't really get to take part in the other ones before. But cool stuff. I'm glad that they've got it working and they're in a confident place with it. I do hope this last couple of minutes they talk a bit more about future plans, but I don't think they will.
Nowhere else would have the patience to really develop this kind of tech on the promise of something that might happen.
I don't think there is another game company on the planet that can do what we're doing. We can take risks to produce amazing technologies that other game companies simply can't take. I'm pretty convinced that this couldn't be done anywhere else.
Might sound like we're really confident with how well Tech Preview has been going, because we are, but we're honestly amazed at how smoothly a lot of this has gone. Always room for improvement, of course, and there's always things that we wish had gone better. But by and large, we're really impressed with the maturity of the tech so early on. How will it perform under really heavy load in a real environment?
This is an incredibly exciting time for me. I personally have been working on this for almost 10 years. All the little bits and pieces that we've been doing have all been leading up to this. This year's been fantastic in actually seeing a lot of it all come together, and you know, the jigsaw puzzle's virtually complete now. There's just the last few pieces to put in. It's just been amazing to actually see all this work, all this effort that we've put in actually come together, and to be able to put it in the hands of our backers and, you know, get their feedback and, you know, have them experience what this could mean for the game. It's amazing.
Star Citizen Alpha 4.0.
They can't even like play this song. They can't play this song during ISC. I don't pay attention to who's talking. The songs, I love that song. Such a solid vibe. It's a good vibe. Thank you, Jeff.
Will be the first time a server mesh consisting of multiple DGSs with many territories and even multiple star systems makes its way to the live game environment. This represents an enormous step forward towards our goal of making Star Citizen into a massive, seamless, persistent universe. After 4.0, we'll continue to push this first version of server meshing, gradually increasing the number of DGSs within the mesh and the number of players this technology can immediately support. But to fully unlock the potential of the work being done, beyond that, we'll pursue dynamic server meshing, where the distribution of players and entities that get streamed in on the DGSs are managed according to server load. All in all, the journey to server meshing started nearly 10 years ago and will continue to evolve beyond its debut in this year's Alpha 4.0. And we invite you to continue following along with this progress in the Tech Preview channel, where you can help to ensure the best possible future for its development, as well as keep folks like the UK network team, just one of the many groups dedicated to bringing this technology to life, energized and empowered to make this dream a reality. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Alrighty, so that was a great talk on the topic. ISE is a few different things. It is a look at the development on ongoing features. Unfortunately, I think that's decreased a lot. In fact, we don't get any sprint reports anymore, which is kind of annoying. It is a look at the next update coming out, which is what they've been doing a lot this year, and it's also just a look at game development in general. And I think this was their messaging in general on what they're doing with this feature. This is not a future look at the upcoming patch. This isn't a information-rich look at the features. This is a general, here's what Star Citizen is kind of video, in my opinion, which has a small audience. Not gonna lie. I think doing a video like this on server meshing is risky because it's long. It doesn't include much in-game stuff, and it is less tangible than something like new ships or a new profession or mining or something. Not to say that this video is bad. I don't think this video is bad at all. I think this is a great general update of what's going on with Star Citizen. And it's a nice time to be able to see the team. They literally are never on camera. They never talk to us. And they're arguably the most important team in Star Citizen, in my opinion. But this is definitely a different kind of format than most people are looking for. That being said, I think, I don't know where it was, somewhere in here, they talked about just needing to keep doing work for 4.0. They were very, very quiet about what the next steps are, which is okay, kind of. Like I've been saying, this update, the server meshing update, is really our best understanding of where 4.0 is. Like, if server meshing works right now, and it could work on scale right now, then 3.24 could come out and we could see 4.0 within months of that, right? Because the only thing that 4.0 is really dependent on is server meshing working. But we weren't really told that today. So we're not any wiser of when 4.0 may or may not be coming, or what the progress towards it is, than we were when we started this video, I think. But I do appreciate this look at it. Yeah, I have a podcast on this earlier. I'm gonna drop the link for you guys. Wonder if this makes it show up. Here we go. This podcast, I talked with two folks who work in similar industries. One was in network security. The other is in software. Oh boy, that's this whole talk was really just about their perspective of server meshing. Not to say it, they don't have the inside story, but they do have a lot of sort of know-how about this area of stuff. Let me grab that link. If you want to watch this, it is a good talk. It talks about a lot of details of server meshing, but there's also another podcast I did with a couple other people who also do some stuff in this industry. I don't see. And this one, I had the talk with, I don't know where it is. It's not even popping up. I had a talk with a couple of people from the community, and one of those people, Panic Switch, who's in this chat quite a bit, mentioned, I think, the best way to describe this. And it's something I used to kind of spearhead my server meshing video from earlier this year. That I think it was the video that Asmongold reacted to. And he said server meshing is basically the new generation of loading screens. And I feel like that's such a great way to look at it, because we've already seen other games that have done server meshing in some kinds of ways. There's similar technologies to server meshing. We've seen this in financial sectors and other parts of the world, other parts of technology. Server meshing is not a new thing. It's not unheard of. It's been done in games before. It is currently being done in games before. But seeing it as a new version of loading screens, or the next generation of loading screens, kind of gives you the idea that this isn't like a bespoke technology. This is just early technology. It's something that's happening sporadically here and there with the companies that have the freedom and the funds to try it, but not necessarily with everybody who makes games. At some point, I think it's expected, you know, from the talks that I've had, that you'll find a game like Assassin's Creed down the line that uses some form of server meshing, because that's just the way that new games will start to load. So we're seeing this with the patent that's been filed for Grand Theft Auto 6. We're seeing it, as has been mentioned so many times in chat today. Ashes of Creation is doing something like it. We saw it in Spatial OS with the Scavengers game. We've seen it with Dual Universe, and there will be more and more games that come out as data is more, as the hardware is more readily available, as the know-how across network engineers and game developers is higher, and game engines have this feature more built in on its own. I think this is something that we should expect to see in more and more games as we move forward. Star Citizen is not going to be the only one. They're not going to be the last one. They're not the first one. And I don't think it needs to be a competition who does server meshing first or best. And in the same way, I'm guessing when loading screens started happening, nobody was like, this is the best loading screen. But the technology itself is actually, it's really cool to see. And I'm excited to see how different games and different companies kind of apply it in different ways. Server meshing, or Star Citizen's version, is what I'm most excited for, though, because that's the game I'm most excited for. So that's what I'll be covering, and that's what I'll be talking about. But please feel free to tell me in chat which game does it best. And we'll have a little tournament, give out some trophies. You're nervous that we're going to get 325 for the end of the year? Oh boy, I wonder what would be in a 325. So yeah, that was the server meshing update. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, not like a huge amount of new information. I don't think any new information, but a good update on what's going on regardless. Right, never been done at games before at this scale. But again, keep in mind, everybody, when I say this, it's not that it has never been done before, period. Technology-wise, you know. There's different ways of doing it, keep in mind, but again, this isn't the first version of server meshing, but it's also not the same as what everyone else is doing. I think we can all agree with that. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this update on this. Let's get to our monthly report. And hopefully that's not lagging for me while it remuxes. You go ahead and remux in peace. Don't mess me up. Big shout out to Frisch Prince and Demented Jeeper. Thank you both for throwing the memberships over, or sorry, the subs over on Twitch during that. I wanted to wait until we were done to acknowledge that. Appreciate you guys, your support. You're awesome. Welcome to the Toes Gang. VIPs up in here. The only thing that would delay server meshing is how fleshed out our basic CIG is willing to implement it. That being said, making it too clunky, and as we've seen, it won't impress people. Yeah, I'm sure they have an internal standard they got to go for. Calling it the new loading screen gives the wrong context on how it actually works. Well, yeah, that's not... He's not calling it a new loading screen in the sense that it works the same way as loading screens. Just in the sense that it will be used in the same way that loading screens are, to load things. Server meshing is essentially used to deliver you the data that you need without having to use the traditional way of the same server you were already on. PAX Day is doing it as well? Huh, I have to look into that one. Is that Pyro in the background? Yeah, this looks like Pyro 1, I believe. Very pretty. Look at that. Nice. They were the best loading screens because we had to swap discs before that. They figured it out. All right. Okay. Still looks very empty. You mean the the planet? Well, this would be easy exploration if you could just see everything from here. You said it. No, you said it. I was just thinking it. You remember loading screens sometimes came with a small mini game sometimes? Like Snake. Snake. Hello, Lagaffy. It'd be nice if Destiny 3 used server meshing instead of loading screens. All of the games that are like that, oh my gosh. Like imagine any game you've ever played with the ability to basically load stuff as it pleases. Obviously, they have to be able to pay for the servers, but any game you've ever played where they can load stuff as they please on a different server whenever the first server is getting too busy. Like, will we ever have to walk down a chasm to load a new segment of a game? You know, like pick a game, Jedi Fallen Order. You know those segments where you get squeezed into a little spot to transition between two parts of the game? Will we ever have those again once server meshing or the tech behind server meshing becomes more common? It'd be cool. A game like The Division or Destiny or Sea of Thieves where you can just scale up so much more data in a space. I love that ability. I'm excited that this is something that's becoming a reality while we're playing games. You know, it's not something that is happening 20 or 40 years from now. Granted, some of you might be playing games 20 years. I'll be playing games in 20 years. But it's cool that this is happening now because I feel like we're going to see some kind of a transformation in games. And honestly, the basic idea of video games has been kind of boring the last 15 years or so. Indie games, cool. Things have been getting creative, but a lot of things have stayed the same for a while. And big tech advancements like this, I feel like could make things more interesting again, especially when the smaller studios start to get their hands on that stuff. I mean, just wait until like Unreal Engine or Unity is able to get a version of server meshing built into their game engine. That would be nuts. At least I think it'd be nuts. Allegedly, it'd be nuts. Maybe it's not. The jump gates are in place. Players have been into Pyro suggesting a basic build is done. The warp tech has been successfully tested. Some refinement will be needed, but two piece are there. The pieces are there. The pieces are there. I feel like we could say that about Star Citizen for years now, though. The pieces are there. They just still don't work together all that well. All about single player games going server meshed. Yeah, MMOs and online games would obviously benefit more. It's going to be interesting because you feel like when adding more layers to complexity means more opportunities for bugs. Yeah, but also new technologies can allow you to find bugs more quickly. I'm sure things like machine learning being built into these game engines will allow people to identify those bugs more easily. So yeah, more complexity, but also maybe more reliability. It's like when phone developers create a new big battery for their phone and they're like, yes, we added 1400 milliampere hours to your battery so you can charge while you charge for extra life. And then they're like, oh, but we also made the screen bigger. So your battery life's the same time. Sorry. Just got to take that real estate. How will server meshing react to a DDoS attack? By slapping it around. Get the f out of here. That's probably how. Maybe. I think. It's going to be interesting because you feel like when... Oh, I already read that. All right. Let's do our monthly report. I'm out here reading the same thing over and over now. Oh, God. Why would you ask her to shoot me? Rude. I don't think she's watching right now, so she doesn't know. She heard me. Just like ChatGPT can solve issues right now when creating mod packs, for example, you fix numerous bugs like that. Could be interesting how that goes. Could be. Anyone else hear that high-pitched noise? That might be our fan, which is... Ah! Can you turn that fan off? Or turn it down, maybe? You might be hearing that. Server meshing won't eliminate loading screens like that in Destiny. We are switching between game modes when we switch activity types. They all need their own servers and instances. Yes, well, that is... I hope that would be a given. Obviously, you can't switch game modes in the same environment. This is more for a bigger single environment. That would be insane to try and connect your death matches to your capture the flag games. When is server meshing update? 4.0, whenever that happens. SC can't use AI though. Ever since the Mars thing, we don't like those stinking computer brains. I actually feel like it was more, well, the Mars thing was bad. The Oratani thing, or no. The colony ships, whatever that was. That's what really got the people. You hear it every time I talk? Yeah, you might be hearing the fan. You don't hear the fan? That is the fan? Which one is it? Is it the fan or is it not the fan? Could also be feedback from my cords. You know how they are. Cords. Gross. All right. Let's talk about the monthly report. So, every month on one lucky stream, we get to sit back and talk about what new is happening in Star Citizen in the previous month. And the summer months tend to be pretty interesting because ISC regrettably does slow down, and a lot of the more in-depth development takes place from what I feel like when we go over these between like March and September. So these tend to be pretty juicy, and from what I've seen over the course of my skimming the last couple days, there's some pretty good stuff in here. So we'll get to it. I will give you some context if it comes up. I'll get derailed and tangent about some stuff if nothing comes up, and I will hopefully pull up some video footage if there are any features in here that have them. I'll also be chatting with chat. If you're not watching live and you're watching after the fact, maybe come by. Come chat. It's good times. AI features. June saw AI features improving the behaviors of grouped NPCs for a more consistent combat experience. To do this, they added an object representing the group that shares perception information about targets at the appropriate time. This allows the designers to tailor combat experiences to the specific demands of the mission by deciding who is and isn't drawn into combat and when it starts. It also allows them to cheat a behavior for situations where communication between group members would be expected, e.g. via radio, preventing NPCs from doing a full first reaction when they already know what they would already know about the fight. This is the first implementation of the system, and the team will be playtesting and balancing it to make sure it presents a realistic but understandable challenge. Without the behavior, perception and entering combat would be more haphazard and not work well across the wide range of level and missions scenarios. Interesting, the AI sections nowadays are focusing more on group activities and kind of how the AI acts as like a macro unit, whereas probably last year before, the last 2 years, monthly reports were very much about the behaviors, the specific behaviors that some NPCs would have and how they would use them. So I guess they've really gotten the behaviors down, and now they're starting to combine behaviors maybe, or just have NPCs around each other to get a better grasp of how they can work in groups. The Ashes server announcement is great news for Star Citizen because it makes people feel less iffy about it. Well, I think it's interesting to see other games start to talk about the technology, because like you said, people maybe thought it was just like some random promise that Star Citizen was making, or an excuse they were making to take a long time, when there are other studios that are working on similar things. So that is cool. Oh, when I say macro unit, I just mean like more than a single person, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people together. I don't know. It's not an official use of a word or anything like that. All right, AI the game intelligence development tools. This is a new section that I think was added last month. No, this month. June saw the creation of a new team within the AI group, Game Intelligence Development Tools. One of the team's objectives is to focus on evaluating and improving tools and processes. For example, they're currently working with the AI tech to improve the Apollo subsumption editor with improved UX. Following a successful prototype, the team are currently implementing some of the features directly in Engine. This new visual paradigm is known as Apollo Star Script. We do this like every single month. We haven't done this in a while. Let's go look at the subsumption editor and see what it currently looks like. So first time we saw subsumption was way back in the day. I think this is like 2018. Yeah, March 2018. This is what subsumption looked like. Basically a giant flow chart of sort of if-then statements with variables that you could combine to make a behavior tree for AI to act out when they're doing stuff, coming across things, failing to do things, succeeding at doing things, all that jazz. Not a great interface, but what internal development software interface is. They're usually pretty stark in their design. Here is an update we got on that same thing 5 years later in 2023. You can see that it really didn't change all that much. Like it still looks mostly the same. So I wonder what they're going to do in terms of changing up the UX and making it a little better for everybody. This is a pretty important tool though in terms of the development of the game. Of course, R&D costs money, but in the long run, it will save them or cost them more money. Well, I mean, developing your own game engine for all this definitely is going to save you money in the long term, I think. If you can run your company well, at least. All right, continuing with AI, other improvements include a new tool that enables the devs to group or ungroup task functions automatically, allowing them to easily add comments and visualize them when collapsed or expanded. Another upcoming objective is to implement different service solutions for long-term AI functionalities, including the quantum simulation, the battle system, and the commentator model. I'm glad that they are talking more about the quantum system because every time they do, they say quantum and not quanta, and maybe at some point people will stop saying quanta to describe the simulation. But probably not. Alfian, hey, welcome back. Good to see you. Hope the 4.0 work is going well for you and you're having a good day. Tails and nodes reminds you of working with the Unreal Engine. Working on Unreal Tournament. AI tech. June saw AI tech optimizing parts of the vision system used by NPCs, which involved moving parts of NPC visibility. Moving parts of NPC visibility check computation to the client. This will help when there are multiple players on the same server, giving improvements to reaction time and frame rate. Huh. So they're moving AI functionality to the client? In some places? Interesting. They're also investigating better ways to synchronize AI data between servers and clients in preparation for server meshing, which will allow for smoother transitions by keeping the same context when NPCs move from one server to another. As a test, they serialized more data into AI components like path and movement requests. What's up, all the 07s in chat? Can we get an 07 in chat? On the ship AI, functionality was added to point defense cannon that allows them to track and shoot missiles. Improvements were also made to NPCs following leaders in formation by utilizing a PID controller for matching leader speed and adjusting role based on the leader and NPC ship orientation. Alongside this, the AI tools, the team began unifying functionality and fixed bugs in preparation for the Apollo UI redesign. Super excited for Apollo redesign. Yeah. They love giving updates, yet we never get them. If we never get updates, why are we on 3.24? What the heck were the previous 24 updates? That will never be abused by cheats at all, ever. NPC visibility check on the client. Yeah, an interesting choice. What is the quantum simulation? It's basically the back end of the game in terms of economy and AI interaction. It's meant to decide everything from what the price of gas is at the local space station you're going to, all the way up to when you run into a pirate when you're flying around in an asteroid belt. It will communicate to us. It will be able to dynamically spawn missions and activities and AI in certain situations. It will be the thing that makes all the missions that we currently run make sense in their context. So a planet that has a lot of need for steel will spawn a lot more cargo steel missions. A planet that has a lot of pirates will have more pirates in the area and more bounty hunting missions. A planet that has a refinery on one of its moons, you'll see more activity going to that refinery based on what's being done in that area. Star Sim. Hey, you know, you can't mistake Star Sim for Quanta, but until they give me the official stamp on my forehead, Quantum is the hill I'm dying on. Tech design isn't on this month's report. Why not? Why not? Reddit would tell me it's because you guys all took the month off. Tony Zervik called it Quanta. Man, that's too bad. When did he call it he called the simulation itself Quanta? What was the update to server meshing? Really just an update on how things have gone over the last few months. It sounds like good, but there's no real talk about what's coming up next for it. Some of us on Squadron have been working in Squadron again for a bit. Oh, interesting. Kind of brought you back for some checkups. Can I explain why server meshing is so hard? This is a regular staple of MMOs since EverQuest 20 years ago. I would love to understand what new frontier we are forging here that takes so much time. The hard part of it is how much scale there is to the game. So like, you've got a planet. That planet has 80 million square kilometers. Among those 80 million square kilometers, you've got 40 caves, 16 outposts, a whole city, thousands of NPCs, ships flying around, people falling out of the sky, a bunch of boxes from cargo that have been blown up in a ship that spill down to the ground so that people can pick it up and loot it later. There's just like a lot of stuff going on. And then you combine that and you multiply it by 4, since, you know, it's 4 planets in that system, and it starts to get complicated. There start to be a lot of holes. So I think one of the main problems they've always had is how do they scale up the game, persist all of the information between those servers for all of these specific items on a 64-bit environment, and then make that run well. But also, they're building it in a way that essentially these servers will be able to shift in size. So if you have a ship that can hold 40 people, but there's only 2 people on it, maybe that ship is part of the local server, right? Maybe it's part of the server that shares with 2 space stations. But then 14 other people come and join, or let's say 40 other people come join. You have 42 people on your ship now. The game decides, oh, that ship got a lot of people in that area. Let's create one single server for that ship and have it move around in space. That's another step. I don't know if anybody has done that yet. And that's kind of the goal. That's not where they're at right now, but that's... they have to build the whole system to account for that. And I think that adds a lot of complication to it. You helped a lot with 323 and 24. We can check in on Squadron again for a bit. Tech design is very dramatic when it comes to workload and priorities. Yeah, I bet. Anything with the word tech in it, I'm thinking it's pretty important. Is it kind of whiplash going back and forth between the projects? Hope we get more data on server meshing tests from CIG. Hopefully another preview channel run soon. I'm assuming anything that was done 20 years ago will take a vastly different set of technology stack than what we're doing now. Like, games in general have changed a lot from then in terms of the assets they use, interactability that's expected, and all that kind of stuff. Not to say that what they were doing back then wasn't good. Just I think they're probably dealing with different problems now. hey, can you do a bespoke solution and not worry about server performance versus this needs to work everywhere? Right, and that's, yeah, I bet Squadron's a lot less frustrating to work on in that sense. All right, moving on to animation, who's got the biggest update of the report here. As usual, the animation team continued to fix technical issues with the Copion animate assets. Animate assets? Yeah. And create new animations for numerous creatures. Oh, numerous creatures. Oh, numerous. What could be numerous? We've got the Pyro Crab, a classic, a favorite, one we know well. Well, we've got the cow, right? Everybody loves a good space cow. We've got the Pyro Crab, which is somewhere in here. Gosh, I need to find a way to organize this folder because it's just gotten out of hand. We've got the... Oh, look at that. Here's a combo of them both. Boreal Stalker, supposed to be on Microtech. Pyro Crab is supposed to be in Pyro. They might be working on these two. We don't know, but they are two potential creatures that we know are supposed to be coming at some point. And then there's also the Space Whale. Let's see if we got any pictures of the Space Whale. Actually, I think we have videos of your whale boy. This is me reacting to the Space Whale being shown at CitizenCon. So loud. Me and Morph were watching together. But yeah, these space whales are supposed to be showing up in Crusader. And, oh, here we go. They have some video of it here. So, like, that's an engine. It's not in game yet, but that's another creature that they might be bringing in. And is there anything else that we've seen? Guess I could just type in fauna and see what pops up. It's the beauty of saving every video clip they've ever released. Oh, these guys. These little pests. I don't actually know if they're working on these, but these are expected to be in Hurston. They're kind of like the rats of Hurston, little flying. They look like the Flood from Halo, in my opinion, but apparently they're pretty much harmless. Got this crocodile looking thing. I don't think this ever turned into anything, but it was a concept they were working on, so maybe they'll go forward with it at some point. Gigantic bird. Don't think they're doing anything with that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all we've known about so far. SC's already got the whales. The Copion missions are funny. Sandworm? Yeah, sure. The sandworm is so far away. For reference, anybody who is interested in the sandworm, now, lore can always be updated. CitizenCon 2017 keynote. Lore can always... Oh, no, it's 2016. Lore can always be updated and retconned and turned into something completely different. But if you look at the demo where the sandworm does appear, it was this 2016 presentation. Look at the planet. This is Lear 3 in the Lear system. Yeah? Let's go to the map and take a look at when we might be seeing the Lear system compared to its location to, say, Stanton or Pyro. In fact, we'll just run a route from Stanton to Lear and see where that takes us. Jump points. 7 jumps away. Oh boy. So yeah, you're looking at a... Whoa, what just happened? Why you do that, Star Map? You're looking at 7 jump points away from Stanton to get to the Lear system, which is where that sandworm is. And like, obviously they're not going to just beeline through that route to the Lear system. They're going to have to fulfill so many different systems before then. I wish they would just show me the route like that instead of making me click in like this. So we zoom out. This is the route you'd have to take. Stanton, can you see this? Yeah, Stanton up here, to Pyro here, to Cano, to Davian, to Farron, to Idris, to Elysium, all the way over to Lear on the far side of space. And like before that, you've got Pyro here, obviously. You've got Castro, which is another system we're looking at. Got the Nyx system down here, which is our third system we're going to get after Pyro. The Terra system is pretty important. Magnus is important. Ellis will be coming in because that is already included in Arena Commander. And like there's just all kinds of human space in between us and Lear. So Sandworm, I don't think so. I need some water. Give me a second. Whew. Okay. Too much talking. Not enough moisturizing. Your Hopium is off the chart right now, but you want to believe that they have more systems ready than what they've shown already. Never believe that. Never, ever, ever. Never believe that there's more ready than what they've shown. It will disappoint. Given that it takes 10 years to make one system, we're looking at a few centuries. Well, I guess. Thank God buildings don't take as long as they do to make as the first building that was ever made, or we would be in trouble. Yeah, the star map online is pretty nice. The Atlas, or the Arc star map. How far is the Sol system? It's also pretty far away. Several jumps away from where we are. They don't even have Pyro finished, do they? They do. Pyro's in a place I think it can be released. Like what we saw in the Pyro preview is good enough to release. I don't think it would be a good step forward for the game, but it's good enough to release. And generally, I think it's held back by server meshing. But yeah, they're working on Nyx too. But again, that's not necessarily something they haven't told us. Nyx has already seen, we went over this last week. Nyx has seen assets shared with us on ISC. It was a while ago, and I think they put it away for some time, but we know they've opened the door on Nyx. Also, technically, they've opened the door on Terra too. This is armor that they...
Also in concept are these heavy armors from the planet Terra, center of the UEE and the planet that humanity chose. Now, as with all concepts, these may or may not be chosen to be taken into implementation. But as we've explored before, that's life in the continuously iterative world of concept work. And you can bet we'll check in again if any of these designs move forward.
So obviously that's just concept work, but it's at least ideation about Terra. I don't think it's coming anytime soon, but you can see them kind of opening the door on some assets in these places. All right. All that from animation. The shortest update of the whole report. We got a good conversation out of it. Let's move on to art from the characters. In June, the character art team progressed with 3 specialist armors, finalizing the update to the utility armor and supporting requests for the character customizer. Art depth for looting items was worked on too. The character concept art team continued exploring designs for utility armors and completed handoff sheets for specialist armors, while the hair team kicked off new beards and hairstyles. I'll give you guys a quick snap picture at what armor.
Here, this is more big ships that come.
No, this is not what we want.
Wow.
Give you more looks at where armor is supposed to go at some point. If I can find it. This would be Richard Tyre talking a little bit about this.
So when we start doing it,
so you can see they were already looking at utilitarian armors. They really want to diversify armor and make sure you are getting a different experience.
That's what the military
with whatever you're wearing. Especially the first thing they've done with this whole specialization is adding that dynamic crosshair to combat helmets. Not all helmets have a crosshair. If you want one, you have to wear a helmet made with combat in mind. So this utility armor that is coming up, one of the things that you should look out for is whether or not they're adding a specialization to it that actually gives you an in-game benefit. If that does, that means that we can probably expect that most of the armors they add are going to start to be more focused on certain things, which is, I think, really good news for the game, because you may have noticed the game doesn't have skill points. It doesn't have experience where you rank up in some area. They have different items that are supposed to give you different advantages, and you have to be able to find or craft or steal them in order to acquire them. So more specialized armor means more things to look for while you're looting, means more things to care about in game, and I think is a good call. Let's see what they have to say about the utility stuff here.
It's got the most damage mitigation. It's got the most item ports for magazines. It's the most throwables, so the grenades. It's all about absolute combat powerhouse. And then you look at, say, the combat specialist. Well, that's when you're coming into where you want more niche, more special forces, more special ops. Now, they're still good at combat, but they're giving up some of their combat effectiveness to provide more utility. So if you want to be a bounty hunter and you want the absolute best-in-class radar for finding people to track down your target, to take them in, then maybe you'll pick the heavy combat specialist. And then you look on the other side of the road, that you're looking at, say, the utilitarian. Now, utilitarian adventurer, that's kind of like best-in-class climate control. So if you're going into these harsh environments that's extreme cold, extreme heat, or you're going into these, really where it's got acid rain, that's when you want this pillar. And this pillar also includes where it's got like best-in-class inventory. So if you're going down mining and you want to say, I want to do one trip, I want to get everything while I'm there, you're still going to be combat worthy. You're still going to be able to compete in combat, but you're giving up some things to get other benefits. And then the utilitarian support that's where more about consumables. So when we start doing healing gameplay, in terms of medic gameplay, healing your party, providing more support and giving you these unique roles when you're playing, and so that you can actually hone down in terms of what you want. And so when you actually add all that together, and then you're looking at, say, the damage types that we've already talked about in the weapons, well, everything we add to the game needs a counter, because otherwise, what's the point? So when you're looking at, say, the physical, energy, distortion, and chemical, there needs to be a counteract. So, we're going to need armor that has different resistances to provide different encounters. So if you want the combat armor, maybe that's best in class in terms of physical, but maybe in terms of the utilitarian adventurer, that's best in class in terms of energy damage or chemical, because you're going into these harsh environments. And so what we want to do is we want to have these meaningful choices where you're going to these, going to buy armor, and you're having the same decision making. Going, okay, should I get that one? Well, that gives me all this stuff, and okay, maybe I'll get that one. And then you go, okay, maybe I'm going to get both. But then in the world of physicalized inventory, you're like, well, I can't just get onto the planet and have 20 armors. You're going to have to make real decisions. And that's where it really ties into the gameplay. But before I go on too long, I'll pass over to my esteemed colleague, Jeremiah, and he will continue on some of the visuals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We actually haven't seen Jeremiah Lee in a little while, but he gives some good insight into art, because he does a lot of the art for armor and stuff, and the stuff he's worked on has come to the game. I know some people aren't very interested in art talk, but this, I hope, does give a little bit of insight into the specialist utility stuff they're talking about and kind of where it comes from, since specifically this update is on the art side.
The utilitarian play style. So these are some new concepts that we haven't shown yet. So this is the first time you guys are seeing some of these. If you look to the very left, is something, it's a utilitarian support class. So as you can see in the back, it's got a little bit of backpacks. So we have more consumables, more utility slots. So these, you would expect to see these guys in battle, but then I would probably see them behind, supporting your teammates, right? So you'd have your assault guy running around, and this guy would be like, hey, you need some grenades, bro? Or like, you need some magazines, bro? But like, we wanted to diversify the play style. So no longer will you, in the future, be wearing, I want to wear the CDS armor because it looks cool. It'll be more of like, for this specific situation, I want to wear the best armor, right? So we want to move into the direction of gameplay and not just pretty stuff. But if we go to the next two images, which is something that excited me the most, is the utilitarian adventurer style, right? So we saw the Kara commercial today. And what the concept team, the character team, what we really wanted to do was really sell that exploration, right? Like, what would you wear if you're going to a random system and you don't know what the hazards are? You do a reading, oh, it's really hot in there. You'd pick one of these bad boys up, right? You wouldn't wear a CDS heavy marine armor and be like, all right, we're going in, right? So you would wear the a suit that's perfect for that certain type of environment. And so if you look in the middle, the concept for this was for a heavy exploration, kind of a cold weather, cold resistant type of suit. And if you look to the very right, we did a concept that was based off of that, but a little bit mixing onto the like metallic armor, so it's got a little bit more ballistic resistance. So even in the pillars that Rich was talking about, there will be some slight variants as well, so we can try to cater to multiple situations. But speaking of utilitarian adventurer, as we kind of teased in the very beginning, there is gameplay for climate control and temperature, and I'm going to toss it back to my esteemed colleague, Richard Tyrer.
They're like, oh, all right. I think I get what you're saying.
So as Jeremiah touched on, you know, temperature is a thing, and really this is the beginning of the player status system. This is the beginning of survival in the PU, so that, you know, you're not just going to these planets and going, yeah, great, I'm just going to take everything and just going to put whatever armor on and do whatever I want. This is where you're going, okay, I'm going to a harsh climate, like I'm going on an Arctic expedition, and I'd have to actually choose the correct apparel. So before I get into temperature and detail, the first thing I want to introduce is basically how, which has been live for a long time, is the room system. Now, the room system is basically a way for us to basically mark up areas, and it's kind of like an environment container. It allows us to add what temperature it is. It allows us to add the humidity. It allows us to say, okay, is it breathable? And this kind of, what it does, it's kind of...
Interesting about this, he's talking about the room system. That's coming in with engineering. The whole engineering system is very heavily based on the room system. Just to give you an idea of how long it took for them to get this just the room system working. The apparent temperature and the climate control, all that stuff, that happens in game already. That's why you see your temperature go all over the place when you get out on the moon. But the room system itself is, it took a while. Remember during their testing, in fact, I think I have some video clips of them testing that. It's where they were doing stuff like the explosive decompression tests and all that jazz. Yeah, so here are some early, actually, I think this is an early test of the room system in 2017. Just kind of looking at, I guess, manual door opening. But this was, I think, a look at how the atmosphere between a room would change. This is what happens right now, right? So when you get into an airlock in an outpost, it opens and then it kind of just all goes at once. Instead of it being more dynamic, you kind of just like suddenly you're choking to death. And it's supposed to have some physical effect. I actually don't think I have that decompression clip, do I? I do.
As the room system bleeds out, so we know the amount of bleed out. And here we go. This is a test. And when the doors open,
so you can see it happen there. It's not a gradual thing. It just kind of hits a status, and then everything gets sucked through.
When the doors open, there you are.
And that's the kind of stuff that they were building the room system for, but it has taken forever to materialize. And then this is just talking about, like, this is getting way more into armor and not the utility stuff, but you get the idea. All right. Art on the ship side. Usually it's a little bigger than this. Last month, the ship's team progressed with the RSI Polaris, getting close to finishing the interior for the gray box review. The exterior is heading towards final content, with the parallax occlusion mapping and lighting being completed. Wow, nice. They're getting lighting done already. The RSI Zeus Mk2 is also approaching its final content review. We love the Zeus because it looks cool. No, it's a very capable ship for its size from what we've seen so far, and it's probably going to be one of the more popular general purpose ships because it's a good size. It seems like it'll be handleable by a single player, but also enough that you have 3 players on it who are all doing something fun. And I think 3 to 5 people is going to be like the most common party size in this game. So you'll notice that they're making many, many more ships in that range of ships, which is good. You hope CIG adds gravity and maglev tech to further improve EVA function for spacesuits. It will help with atmosphere repairs, mining, and combat. Maglev. So, like, be able to float in gravity? All right. Community member area, they did a lot of meetups and the contest and the Pride Month thing and the visiting countries, and probably, did they talk anything here about oh, they're starting their cosplay contest early, which is interesting. I don't think they talked about the ship showdown yet here, but they'll probably talk about it in the next one. Here's a little statement they made to the community team. We kicked off another year of Bar Citizen events around the globe. As always, you all showed up in spades. It was wonderful meeting each and every one of you, hosting trivia challenges, enjoying good drinks, and great company. We can't wait to see you all again at upcoming events during PAX, TwitchCon, Gamescom, and more. So if you're nearby, come on down and get your hands on an exclusive Hello? I don't know what that is. We would also like to say thank you to everyone supporting the development of Star Citizen and our recent updates, tech preview, and other PTU tests. No problem. It's actually a big problem. It's very annoying when the game keeps crashing. We are committed to delivering a world-class game for a world-class community and a world-class time frame. Just kidding. And your feedback is instrumentally important to us. Looks like they did a community event in Shenzhen, but I think, no. They didn't run that event. Somebody else ran an event in Shenzhen, and I believe they visited it, is what I was hearing. Don't know what, I think some good information came out of that, though. Maybe, there's probably some good reviews of that up there. You really don't have to say no pride thanks in chat. You could just not say anything. We're getting push and pull traversal for EVA. No mag boots. I would love mag boots, to be honest. But yeah, the push and pull traversal. It's going to be cool to decide between whether you're using your medical or your EVA thrusters or your push and pull or your multi-tool. Fat Fury is just a regular Fury through a telescope. We've been bamboozled. Okay, core gameplay. This is definitively the best part of the report, in my opinion, except for tech design, obviously. Of course. Or you can say what you want. I mean, it's my stream. Like, what do you mean you could say what you want? If Fat Fury turns out to be cool, then you might get that inside of the Zeus MK2. I wonder if they would put more than one person in that ship, though. All right, core tech. For Maelstrom, the development stream was recently published to the main internal branch. This provides a fresh set of features, such as a new unified mesh format grid with OC support per Maelstrom node for large vehicle destruction. It also provides tools to link gameplay events with destruction sequences, such as shatter break and integrity changes. Yay. It's really cool to hear that Maelstrom is making this kind of progress in the right now. I thought it was going to take longer. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm pleased with that. Thank you, Ananzi. The unified mesh format brings numerous improvements to the Vulkan pipeline and internal code coverage alongside a flexible pipeline to bake supplementary data required for Maelstrom destruction. The ability to link internal Maelstrom sequence to game logic advances the dev's ability to easily build complex destruction sequences. Further development will bring Maelstrom destruction entities past the existing legacy destruction and harden the existing pipeline. Hardening that pipeline. Folks, how is it that I spent like 2 minutes on the community section and we're getting drama from that? We have half a dozen choices for cargo, racers, and fighters for each class size. They need to expand the industry options so we have more than one choice in each class size. I would love more industry ships. And also when we get more industry ships, please don't advertise them as combat ships. Thank you. Appreciated. Following a full task breakdown, implementation of the transit refactor began. This included setting up basic component and entity classes for destinations, gateways, and gateway peripherals. A new debug GUI transport network visualizer was created to assist the initial setup and inform design of the setup of each transport network. The transit engineers also continued supporting the upcoming Alpha 3.24 release. Are you a simp for fun or is it kink? I'm a simp for fun. Hell yeah. I'm a shill for fun all the time. I like fun. Fun's pretty cool. Let's face it, if it's the ships that attract people to the game, I'd like more ways to enjoy and engage with ships, maybe have the ability to manually maintain ships. You know what I like? Even though the ships definitely attract people to the game and are like a big way to advertise the game, trust me, I know, like, thumbnails almost entirely perform better when you put a ship on them. There's a reason that there's a Zeus on this stream's thumbnail instead of a picture of a barrel. Like, literally, I was looking at pictures in this report to use as my thumbnail, and I'm like, okay, are people gonna click on this? It's cool, but it has no context. Ships are pretty self-explanatory. But my favorite thing about the way this game works is that you notice the funding going up with this game when they start to actually make some good progress, you know? The game's playing stably. Something came out that expands on the gameplay and stuff a lot. It really helps with the game itself. And you notice a lot more people taking part in the game, which is nice because it's, you know, it encourages them to continue to make the game better in order to improve the player count. Ananzi, I don't know what you just posted. You missed chat drama again? You're getting a drink? I'm sorry. All you got to do is scroll through the community section and you get something. Best thumbnail that will bring clicks is the big pic of a cookie. Of a cookie, huh? What kind of cookie? We talking like a peanut butter cookie, Girl Scout cookie, some tagalongs, Thin Mints, or maybe a crumble cookie. I'll simp for crumble too. They make good cookies. It's the only time you come back and play a little. That's why you came back for 323, was the DLSS and Vulkan and all that. Man, I can't wait for our post-server meshing time when we can start to see more interesting optimizations like that. Not even reading that, you knew it was Vastin. Okay, for FPS radar and scanning. Or rather, just radar and scanning. Work was completed to allow FPS ping to be used from certain seats. The first being in vehicles that lack their own radar. That's a nice touch, good quality of life. Alongside this, the team resolved several issues when using an FPS radar within vehicle zones to detect things outside. Work continued on the highlighting effects caused by FPS ping, with the devs now able to apply different colors for different factors, such as hostility. Several other parameters were added to the highlight effect to allow the fine-tuning of visuals, including fade, timeout, occlusions, fill, and outline. Man, what I want from this game can be summarized in such a single scene when it comes to scanning. It is the scene that features our very own Idris. I love this. This is my idea of like sci-fi scanning in a game. There's no sound. How are you not going to have sound in this part? Come on. That's not fun. Okay, fine. We'll do it without sound, whatever. This scene is like everything I want from scanning in this game. You get into an area, it's unmapped, you go out and you scan it with, I don't know, it doesn't have to be drones, with your helmet, and as you scan it, it populates a map with the stuff that you're scanning. Calls out little things in different colors based on what they are. And then sends that information back to your ship, where you've got like your friend ready to receive, because you can just send that data back and forth. Oh man, that's exploration for me. Obviously I want to be able to find stuff, but this scene was so cool, and I really do hope it plays out like this. It does seem like this is kind of what they're going for in a sense. There's a lot of talk about how data will transfer between ships or people as you send it back and forth. They've also shown that Citizen Con in life in the first person. I just typed in life in FPS life in, but they got it. No, I'm sorry. It was navigating the verse. You can kind of hear a little bit of talk about how this whole transfer of things will work. So first you can see here, this is the scanning gameplay. You'll watch him ping here on the top. There's the ping. It wasn't good enough. That wasn't a good enough ping. Try it again. There's the ping. And you can see things lighting up. Obviously, as they said, they have changed this effect. I'm sure they've made it look a little bit better than this. But if you look in the map section of this whole talk, specifically here, there's a little bit of talk of data running and handling.
What you see on screen, zoom out a bit, call outs around to our data and we take so
all right, check it out.
the floor that you're on. So our current objective, it's much more interesting if we can actually take this on the go. So let's download it to our data bank. As you'll notice, we now have the representation of the environment in the upper left corner of our visor. Now the thing that's really
for the record, because I do see somebody saying they want the VFX from Hollywood in this game. They did that at first, and it was awful. I wouldn't trust movie VFX people for a video game anymore, to be honest.
Interesting to note at this point is not all environments will have such a convenient kiosk available. You may encounter rundown settlements, or you might come across a cave that no one else has ever set foot on before.
You mean like the one in Prometheus?
What will happen in this instance is your radar will incrementally update your map, and it will incrementally reveal...
People are clapping because this is data transfer. Like, I don't think... Maybe you don't know how big a deal data transfer is in a game like this, but the idea that you can save and download information that was retrieved by somebody else is I think it's pretty novel. I don't think it's done too often. I'm sure it is in other games, but for a game like this, that adds a ton of possibility for a game loop like Exploration.
Your environment and just save that to your data bank. So you kind of reveal it incrementally. So this map, what we see in the upper left corner of our visor is not really just a map. What it really is actually data. It's our radar. And we can see contacts on our radar as we scan. And it's basically what we have available stored in our data bank. So because we have the location data saved to our data bank, we can obviously access that via our mobiGlass. So let's go ahead and pull it up in our mobiGlass, because this is going to get really interesting.
Okay, so they could have gone into so much more detail about exploration and data running, but clearly they did not want to, because it's nowhere near being ready in the sense that they want to do a showcase on it at CitizenCon, which I appreciate, you know? I feel like 4 years ago or even 3 years ago at CitizenCon, they would have gotten deep into some kind of blue skies design talk about how data running is going to work. And instead, they just kind of showed us that, yeah, the map can be downloaded, that's that, and move on. This could have gotten out of hand, and I do appreciate that it didn't, although I want the information. I do. It's almost like Wi-Fi and a USB stick. It's Bluetooth in 2953. Sketch. Muscles, Zane. We had muscles and bone on the first person thing this year. Maybe this year at CitizenCon? Maybe. Maybe. Possible. Space Tooth is what they're going to... No, Star Tooth. It's the new CIG communication technology in their engine. It's called Star Tooth. Somebody copyright that. Trademark it. All right, following a full task breakdown, implementation of the oh, wait, no, we're past that. Support began for new vehicle brackets, including nameplate and distance, and parameters were added to control when and how they should show in different states, such as targeted and pinned. The removal of scan operator mode started too, which will be replaced by ADS scanning. What is that? Aim down sight scanning? What is ADS scanning? For those of you who don't know what scan operator mode is, this is, if you've played 23 with master modes, you'll know that there is SCM mode, or sorry, there's guns modes, missile mode, and scan mode. Or in your navigation segment, there is quantum, flight, and scan mode. They're getting rid of the scanning. I don't know. I don't know what that means, because they said it's being replaced with ADS scanning, which doesn't make sense because there are no sights in vehicles, so it wouldn't be aimed down sights. But it's certainly something, and I don't know. Active. I have no idea what the heck it's supposed to be, but it sounds like they're changing up the way that scanning will be used in the game. Probably it's just going to be able to be used at any point rather than having to switch to a specific mode to scan, which makes a lot more sense. But they also go into more detail about scanning here, which is pretty cool. So the team submitted the framework for a system that will allow design to begin tagging which scan producer's specific radars run. For example, medical scanners may see health information, while police scanners can detect contraband. An improvement was made to the radar system, allowing faster scan speeds while maintaining performance. Support continued for radar with the room query system that allows the occlusion of people behind locked doors. So occlusion for people behind locked doors is interesting. Does that mean you can't see people behind locked doors using scanning, or what? Also, the specification of scanning is cool and useful. The Terrapin, for instance, has a different type of scanner than the MSR. Terrapin is supposed to be more for surveying and pathfinding, or scouting ahead, and the MSR is meant more for scanning for data, I guess, or something like that. You can zoom in the cockpit too. I feel like aim down sights would be incredibly confusing to use for a ship. Maybe it's like precision targeting. Maybe, but it sounds like if it's being replaced, if it's replacing scan operator mode, then it sounds like more a function of scanning rather than the actual act of scanning itself. You know what I mean? Like they're removing the fact that you need to switch to a mode to scan. I'm assuming ADS scanning has something to do with the method of doing it. What is the chance that the Galaxy or the Eurastra is one of the unnamed ships being released? Wait, did I skip over that? Oh, I did. We talked about the Zeus. 7 unannounced ships worked on. 2-4 are approaching the white box review stage. 2 are heading towards gray box review, and the last is nearly finished. I mean, that could be our little starter ship we saw on the video last year, as well as the Mirai Fat Fury. But I don't know what else the other ships could be. 7 unannounced ships. Like, we just had the Invictus Star Citizen live, and they did not talk about 7 ships. So new stuff has started since then, and my video's outdated. All direction scan? Maybe. Oh yeah, any ship that's already been named is not going to be on there. Correct. Unnamed would be the ships we saw last year, but these all say unannounced. So who knows? This is why you include your disclaimer that things may change by the time you upload your videos. Yeah, or after I upload my videos. Okay. There's more to this scanning stuff. I'm very excited that they're talking so in depth about scanning in this report, because we haven't gotten a lot of information on this in like ever. Just really basic stuff. This is a good one. So, finally for radar and scanning, a new mechanic was implemented. Delta signatures. This mechanic has vehicles emit signatures when certain actions are performed, such as ping activation, the activation of quantum boost, and the changing of master modes. Okay. UI to notify players when they detect a delta signature was implemented too. I can just imagine you're flying towards your bounty, right? Your bounty is trying to get away from you. You're flying towards it. You feel like you're about to get in range to shoot a missile, and then suddenly it disappears, and your computer's just like, delta signature detected. And you just know. They just quantum boosted away. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that's going to help us follow people through quantum boost. Like if somebody quantum boosts away from you, they leave that delta signature behind, which maybe you can scan and identify and understand what, I guess for quantum boost that doesn't work. Only for quantum travel that might work. Quantum boost doesn't have a set destination. Well, it can. It can have a set destination. I feel like there's going to be some level of quantum tracking that they're going to implement there. But also for master modes, I've said that I hope switching between SCM and flight mode in master modes was how you could identify if somebody was aggressive or not. And this could bring us a step closer to that being true. If you get a delta signature when somebody switches into SCM mode, that's kind of a big tell that maybe they're gearing up for something. And that's just all around cool for the vibes, in my opinion. The whole, they're powering up phasers, Captain, kind of thing. This sounds like it's going to ruin stealth. The scanning? There is no stealth without scanning, right? Otherwise, everybody's stealth. And if everybody's stealth, nobody's stealth. A great man once said, or they're scared of you being hostile. I mean, if nobody switches into SCM, they can't be hostile, right? For Arena Commander, the team focused on the new front-end style, that's good, the FPS Horde mode, yeah, and back-end support. The implementation of the front-end restyle is nearly complete, with the majority now utilizing the new style and art direction. Several feature requests were sent to the service teams after review, including a way to query game module and mode population, and additional information for friends lists, such as the game mode and map. Did someone say phasers? That reminds you want beam weapons in Star Citizen because the current energy weapons suck. I think the only beam weapon we've gotten was the Banu guns. What were those called? No, not Tachyon. What were those Banu weapons called? They were like hit scan. I don't think they're going to do many weapons like that because they sort of ruin the idea of how like your whole depth of fighting, but also they could be a nice trade-off weapon. Maybe they generate too much heat, but they basically hit scan them. Where can you find this armor archetypes? You mean the video that we were watching earlier? I'll just post a link for you. True, but you mostly switch to SCM if there's no armistice and there are ships around. Well, at some point, CIG needs to force players to change their behavior. And I know Star Citizen is supposed to be a dangerous universe where everybody's on edge, kind of, but like, we need to have a peaceful baseline, in my opinion. We need to have a meta understanding of meeting a player and not immediately shooting. It's such an awful way for like a social game. And I know there's a lot of gameplay in this game, but it's a social game. And I think most people out there don't want to fight as soon as they see people. A good way to make sure that doesn't happen is make sure everybody has their weapons off, right? Not make sure, but rather have a method by which people can confirm weapons are off. Because if people can confirm weapons are off, they don't have to turn their weapons on. If everybody knows everybody else's weapons are off, I think it lowers the expectations of fighting quickly. Not to say it's not going to be a perfect system. People are always going to abuse it. People are always going to trick you, gank you, find you, and do the things that you don't want done to you. But I think setting a basic understanding of how it works would be really, really nice. I would love to just see somebody in space and be like, hey, they've got weapons off. Let's hail them. Let's see what's up. Let's talk. Especially if you're like way out there in some system where you don't see many people. How much would it suck if you were just going across about your way in Killian, exploring 50 million kilometers away from the nearest space station? You come across the first person you've seen in 3 days, and you don't know if you should shoot them or not because you don't know if their weapons are on. You don't want it to become like Elite Dangerous where most player encounters are just trolls or PvPers looking to destroy for the fun of it. Definitely I would love peaceful meetings, you know? Opens up a can of worms. We have to talk about ship components and energy sources. Yeah, and it would have been cool if Master Modes was linked to energy or resource management and it just naturally turned your weapons on and off. Because to be honest, I keep saying that I hope this is the method by which you can see whether players are aggressive or not, but I don't think it'll work out that way. Because if you fly around with your ship in navigation mode, you can't really leave it like that. You might get salvaged or tractor beamed away or something. Ew, it's called an armistice zone. It's not supposed to be location based though. You can't put an armistice zone across a whole star system. Also, armistice zones are going to go away. Those aren't permanent. People kill on site but give away millions just cuz. Alpha. People who don't care about what's going on with their money or their reputation. You should never know if a meeting is peaceful outside of reputation. What? That's like a huge sci-fi trope. Their weapons are powered on, their weapons are powered off. Isn't that like in all of the things? Wait, they're going away completely? Yes. Maybe they'll put an armistice zone around the most secure of places. But in general, reputation and security are supposed to be the... reputation and security are meant to be the replacements for armistice. Armistice zones are a... How do you describe it? Not natural solution to the problem they want to fix, which is basically keeping players safe. They want to have in-game mechanics that do that. The biggest thing that allows for is reputation to gate access to firearms. If you prove that you are a very reliable and good bounty hunter, then a city should say, you have the reputation and means to enter our city with your weapons, and you can use those weapons if you need to, say you're tracking a bounty or something, but other people can't because they don't have that trust. If you worked your way up to the top of Hurston, and you've worked with them for 4 months, you've built up that reputation, they know that you can get your targets, you kind of want to be able to benefit from that. And one of the big ways you can benefit from that kind of stuff is if places that have armistice zones essentially allow you to not have armistice because they trust you. And so they want to make sure that security systems can account for that instead of just like a random invisible wall kind of mechanic. When will we get security? I'm guessing it'll be really fast in a place like Stanton. You got killed by a guard at a spaceport who was shooting at a wall for no reason. Did you walk in front of them? Hello, Weepy Sleeper. All right, where were we? I don't even know how we got onto these topics, man. Several feature requests were sent to the service teams after review, including a way to query game modules and mode population and additional information for friends lists such as game mode and map. For the FPS Horde mode, the team implemented the subsumption mission alongside a way to despawn or define spawn wave data. Design will soon begin reviewing the map and marking it up for AI ahead of the Spawn Closet engineers becoming available post Alpha 3.24. God, I can't wait for FPS Horde mode. I cannot wait. It's going to be great. Having endless PvE in this game without having to care about the persistent universe server performance is going to be such a boon for being able to just hop in and have some fun in Star Citizen. as long as AC does work with us. A playtest was conducted on an EVA-only map, Gundo. Due to limitations with the location causing balance concerns, this map will not be released and will instead be used for rapid in-situ developer iteration of the EVA system. Okay, so we're probably not going to get that game mode soon. Finally, the team began improving how badges are defined in the game code. This is due to a limitation of the system as more teams utilize it. Improvements include giving designers more control over badges and their information by moving what was previously hard-coded to Data Forge, as well as adding several quality of life improvements for developers. I'm guessing they mean badges on Spectrum? What about SCL today? Sounds like it was canceled for today due to unforeseen circumstances. We'll probably get it in a couple of weeks, I would guess. Hopefully it's not because they can't get the missions working. That would suck. Oh, that would suck. Okay, economy. The economy team progressed with tasks for Pyro, including setting up the shops and sorting out any relating issues. They also continued implementing the effort versus reward algorithm so that the mission rewards are balanced according to the risk and time invested by the player. Support was provided for the coming changes to cargo and cargo missions too. This is good because effort versus reward kind of sucks in this game right now. Would love to see that improved. As mentioned in last month's report, the team worked to rebalance the prices for entire sets of items, including vehicle components like power plants, coolers, shields, quantum drives, and weapons, FPS weapon attachments, ammunition, consumables, and commodities. The economy is coming together. As they start to implement this stuff, we'll get a better idea of what kind of payout even matters for a mission, how much money you need to make to maintain yourself. The team's ongoing work involves a new economy for quantum and hydrogen fuel to ensure that refueling isn't a chore while maintaining the narrative feel of a large universe with unique economies spread across different star systems. What does that mean? Ensure that refueling isn't a chore? Like just in the sense of pricing? Is that because they don't actually want fuel to change as much as the economy would have it? Why are they making a separate economy for ship resources? That's a weird one. They're also creating player profiles to better understand how different careers gain and use resources. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good point. You can kind of balance how careers will drive you throughout the system if you know how resources are used for them. Refueling breaks a lot. Right, but like this is a permanent thing, I would assume. They're putting fuel on a different economy overall, which is interesting. 2 hours doing a package mission only for it to not accept the last partial. Welcome to package delivery missions. They suck. So that player changes to an established economy can't pace out new players once the game is released. Sure, but even now, we're really only supposed to have like 10... we're supposed to only really have 10% effect on the economy. I wouldn't expect it to make that big a difference. Yeah, I don't know. All right, graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech. Last month, the stability, performance, and memory usage of Vulkan continued to improve and is now much closer to being the default choice for Star Citizen. Yay! The team has also been in contact with AMD, Nvidia, and Intel to diagnose and fix various driver issues. Now that they're using Vulkan, I believe we saw Nvidia announce a driver update for Star Citizen for the first time. I think it was like in May or June, which is kind of cool. The Global Illumination team worked across a variety of areas. See, now that's a tell. the fact that there is an entire team for global illumination, I don't know how that works in other games, but that, like, you wonder, where are all these employees? What are they doing? There's a team working on GI. So, man, that's a lot. Let's hear what they're doing. For example, they improved the Radiance cache resolution, made stability improvements, and optimized various areas with fidelity effects. They also provided rough specular support, improved motion and depth complexity handling for the screen space light cache, and updated the cascaded light grid to allow for a greater range of global illumination. I don't know what the f that most of that means, but you know what? Good job, guys. Well done, GI. Can be pretty complicated, or I bet. It seems like it can scale a lot differently too. Is Vulkan their game engine? What version is it? Vulkan is an API that is used for rendering technologies. And I believe it is more compatible than the DX standard, like DX11. It also generally, I think, helps with CPU performance. Some games have done a switch over to Vulkan and like been blown away by the performance improvements. I think Doom 2016 did that as a really good example. Gas cloud color processing volumes were added to allow the artists to vary the appearance of large gas clouds as players traverse them. Oh, and for reference with Vulkan, it's not fully implemented yet. It's still not multi-threading, but it's getting there. The team also made the first pass at hooking up the required VFX to jump points alongside a new shader for the tunnel and a bespoke lighting and shadowing solution for ships inside it. Y'all seen jump points? Yeah, you ever seen a jump point before? You can very easily find we'll call it an artistic rendition of what jump points will look like in the game. This isn't official, sorry, it is official, but this is not necessarily what it will actually look like for us. It's kind of just their representation of it. Give you a little look-see at it. Sit back and relax. Here's some eye candy. Take a break from my voice. Yeah, this is an approximation. I mean, they're still representing the game. Oh, sorry, it's a break from my voice. Ta-da! Oh, the sound really struggled on this video. Okay, sorry, I'm getting caught up in it. It's very easy to just keep watching. It's a good watch. Hey man, I'm sure I'm not alone in the unhealthy obsession with this content. It's fun to go back and find the references to little things. I think the most interesting part of this whole development has always been how meandering it is, which is both a gift and a curse. It hurts and it helps. It saves and it kills. And it's fun to see how things eventually get back to connecting with certain stuff, certain features and things like that. So it's going back through the old ISCs and stuff is fun. I like it. What's the likelihood those in-game billboards at Jump Station get the iRobot treatment and start advertising Nike and We always wondered about what it would look like to have real life advertisements in the game. There's this really good picture of a... This isn't a Star Citizen ship. But this was like a concept that was posted to the subreddit a while back. And I always thought it would be really funny to see ships that you could get with like skins for certain companies. It'd be terrible. It would get terrible very quickly. And it would not be good for the game. But you imagine like you're flying around a Coca-Cola themed Kraken that just sells a bunch of merch. Because that's what they would do. That's what Coke would do. They would just fly around selling umbrellas and banners and child labor. No, I'm kidding. I'm not actually saying they do that. Don't cancel me, please. Don't come at me, Coke. I'm not actually saying you do that, okay? No confirmation. Remember when EA did that with Battlefield 2142 with the billboards in the game? Did they really? Yikesies. Just saying, you watch a lot of this stuff, like an unhealthy amount, and then there is Super Tomato. Well, thank you, King. I appreciate it. He's a real one. I do appreciate when people notice the details. Thank you. All right, back to the graphics VFX. Gas cloud color processing. Volumes were added to allow the artist to vary the appearance of large gas clouds as players traverse them. The team also made the first pass at hooking up the required... Okay, I already read this. That's how we got to the jump point conversation. Support for fire hazards continued, which involved adding directionality to the generalized burn and dirt shader effect for entities. This allows localized burning, such as one side of a door. Visual improvements were also added to creatures, such as the ability to spawn decals from GPU particles. Here's a little history trip for fire. This is an interesting one, because fire has been worked on for a while alongside engineering. And when it first started, it was basic. But you could tell that they were really working on a very robust system. So this was the first look at fire propagation, or like one of the first looks we got at fire propagation all the way back in 2021. And you can see they're literally just working on having it burn and react to a force. Like, that's how simple it was when it started. Is wind blowing? If yes, blow fire. And they just did this with like different shapes in different ways and kind of talked about the development of it. But as time went on, you would see them work a little bit on other stuff. This was kind of showing how it could actually propagate across a ship. You see the 600i here. It's showing that certain materials can spike up with fire, and eventually other materials will catch fire, but they'll have different effects. So like up here, you can see it sort of melts off. Over here, it's causing electrical damage. And they also were highlighting the fact that the smoke would start to fill up the room. And you could just see how it might spread throughout a ship. It actually, the mechanics, the visuals look pretty good here, but these are all placeholder visuals. This is purely about propagation. The visuals are all previs. This is our goal. So this is what they were setting up as their goal for fires in the ships, right? And throughout the years, you could come across a couple of little examples of where they were going with the development of it. I think here is another look. This is in 2022. But this is mostly to show how life support can allow you to, like, fires in this game will both raise the temperature of the room you're in, which can cause problems, obviously, for you, for the levels that your components are running, and for cargo. Maybe that's temperature sensitive. Fires can do that. They can also burn away the oxygen level in the room. So eventually they'll burn themselves out, but that also means you can't live on the ship if your fire burns all of the oxygen away. As you can see here, they kind of mention. But eventually we got all the way to the point where they were showing us real fire. And I'll give you guys the full look at that, because they do a really good presentation on it. Oh, somebody was asking how the planet's creation improved, because they were wondering why it wouldn't be 10 years to create another star system. This is a good demo to show. They talk about a lot of what they've done so far to build planets up systemically and how it works. They're talking about how things are improving and what types of things they're going to use, simulating the planets in engine, Houdini to create the tools or the planets offline, machine learning to help build out planets in a believable way with additional points of interest and not just like humidity and temperature. But here is a look at what actually ended up happening with Fire after the 3-ish years of development. This is from CitizenCon last year.
Them from smoke inhalation, poor oxygen levels. And there's actually multiple ways the fire can be extinguished, including the removal of heat, for example, using the fire extinguisher, which is my personal favorite. It's a lot of fun doing that. The removal of oxygen, for example, locking off the area, venting the oxygen, creating a vacuum. Or simply, the fires burn so fiercely that it...
Mecca, really cool point in chat, actually. The idea that you can start a fire on some cold planet and actually survive based off the heat is pretty cool. Not novel. It's been done in other things, but it's cool in the sense that there are survival mechanics in this game if you crash land and you don't have a immediate out.
It's done everything it needed to do. There's nothing left for it to destroy. And if you let it get this bad, it's probably time to consider repairing your ship.
Okay, so how do we achieve this from the technical properties? It's important to go with these surfaces. So, for example...
Okay, hold on. Where is the demo? Here it is. Okay, here's a look at Fire. Sorry.
Thank you.
It looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty cool. Just takes me back to Far Cry 2. I love it. All right, a new managed entity region system was designed and entered development. The goal of this is to manage lifetime of the many procedurally spawned entities, such as creatures and mineable rocks. This is critical to the introduction of persistent entities, server recovery, and server meshing, as these systems require very strict and careful management of entity lifetimes. A new... What is the iPad kid comments? Are you the same person on Twitch and YouTube? Did you just switch accounts to say that twice? GPU terrain generation was implemented as a stepping stone to that team's plans for fully GPU generated virtualized terrain, which will be utilized in Planetech V5. I hope that we can get the Planetech V5 stuff soon. I mean, I know we won't get it soon. They're going to talk about it at some point this year, but it sounds like Planetech V5 is something that they want to do this year. And I think that it is meant to be more about the creation of planets than new stuff like rivers and stuff. But maybe they will talk about weather systems here. I do hope so. It would be really nice to start to hear about how weather is actually going to be more defined in particular. All right, dude. Can a mod just mute this guy? He's just spamming. It's going to be nice to hear more about how they can create weather that's more localized and not just kind of you walk into an area and suddenly it's it's storming loud enough to just blow your ship over. Like you don't go from no wind to hurricane force gales in the space of a second. All right, finally, an efficient query mechanism is being designed and added to planets. This will be used by the new location scatter tool that will help populate planets for Star Citizen 1.0. In-game branding. The in-game branding team made significant progress across various projects throughout June, including new navigational signage for Pyro and graffiti for Ruined Station. Who's making navigational signs in Pyro? Who cares about navigation in Pyro? Just tell people to do what they can and get where they need to go. You'd like to see dynamic clouds and weather for sure. Right now the clouds are static. Here's what I want to see. This is the weather. This is like, if they reach this, then we're good. If they reach this and they can do localized weather,
making your way down,
I need nothing else because this is freaking beautiful.
Very pretty looking.
So this is the first time we're actually seeing clouds above a terrestrial planet. You know, we went through quite a few iterations of forms. What we ultimately ended upon was something that felt quite dramatic, still believable in terms of how the wind would have shaped them. But yeah, like it's showcasing a lot of the more recent tech that came online. Also, what we're seeing here is like some kind of distant thunder strikes. And what this is, it's kind of like a prelude to, you know, future weather features that will be coming on board, you know, and how this will tie into, you know, storms and ship handling, you know, due to the turbulence. And it's great seeing the, you know, the rain hit the canopy glass here, you know, when you go through these cloud banks. Also, as part of the process of shaping, one of the things we really wanted to do is create these kind of like these pockets in between the clouds. So you're in these cavities, so as you're flying through, you get a glimpse of the terrain beneath you. But you know, it feels really quite exhilarating, you know, to fly through.
It does.
Also,
let us fly through it. On to the next thing. In-game branding, we already talked about that. They also started a new location alongside the landing zone team. Interactables. June saw the Interactables team finishing off liquid containers, which will be used in the upcoming Blockade Runner missions. Hazardous containers were worked on too, with the team taking all sizes to final following, taking all sizes to final following destructibility tests. This is the new hazardous container. Just explodable. That's fun. Lighting. The lighting team focused on work for Alpha 4.0, including tasks for the new acidic cave archetype, pyrostation modules, and outpost locations. Acidic caves are cool, but I do wonder if there's any actual functional difference to them. I hope it's not just a visual overhaul. Like the acid should be a thing, maybe? They're currently dialing in the atmosphere for all of Pyro's planets and moons to give each a unique look and feel. Glass sword, don't worry. People are weird. Locations. The landing zone team, lighting and locations, pretty intimately intertwined in this one. The landing zone team spent part of the month fixing bugs for cargo alongside adding to the variety of modules available for Pyro Station. Alongside this, the organics team progressed with asset creation for new biomes that will go on new planets in the future. They also closed out the acidic cave archetype. We know there are a couple types of caves going on. I do think that they're going to do an ice cave soon too, but it sounds like acidic is coming first. Is this for Starfield? If you believe hard enough. One of the narrative team's bigger focuses in June was their continued support for the upcoming cargo gameplay, which included writing new mission text. The team also dedicated time towards Star Citizen 1.0, diving deeper into the new content that patch will bring. Y'all got to give us this roadmap. You can't keep talking about, well, yeah, we're getting into the 1.0. What does that mean? The content that patch will bring, how could you even know? That's like years away. Part of this will fall onto narrative. I mean, it makes sense narrative team would be doing that now. Since narrative, you can kind of, you don't really have to focus or wait for the gameplay stuff to happen. You can create a narrative without locking yourself into certain game mechanics. So it makes sense that they're working on it. I'm just very pushy, you know, and impatient to learn more about it. They'll further expand the presence of social AI in the universe, which will be great. Additionally, Narrative began building out the lore and mission text for future large-scale event missions. They also provided the branding team with several company bios that will be used to flesh out style guides. This month also saw another edition of Lore Makers Community Questions go live, so be sure to check it out. and then add your own questions to the narrative team Ask a Dev Spectrum page for a chance to have your questions answered next time. We'll take a look at that briefly after the report because I think there is some good info there. While weather is not done yet, you'd wish for realistic lightning damage. Those ships seem just like cars and planes like Faraday's cages, which should make them rather secure against electricity. I believe if we go back to the Star Citizen April monthly report, and we look for search struck. No? Lightning. That says lighting. Lightning. No? Okay. Wrong report. Let's try March. Because I believe your request has been answered, at least in terms of development. It's not in game yet. But am I not spelling lightning right? Struck? Electricity? The heck? Which report is it? February? Maybe it was May. Wish the reports were in Starchives. I've been meaning to actually write a little script that saves every report to a single document so I don't have to do this on separate pages. I just never got around to it. Oh, come on. I know this happened. It couldn't have been last month though. No. I think I'm searching the wrong terms here. I'm missing something. Because there was definitely a mention of ships being able to be struck by electricity and how they would respond to it. And I think I'm just not remembering the specific words they used. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, you guys, you gotta hear the Windows noises. If I don't get to find the search, you don't get to find... Oh, now I'm searching Windows on accident. What the heck? No, yeah. I'm not gonna be able to find this, I guess, unfortunately. But it's there somewhere in the monthly reports. Oh no, that's Windows 10. I'm not on Windows 11 yet. Busts a beat. Well, just know that somebody in the company is working on the effects of lightning striking ship shields. Hold on. Maybe? No, it's not even worth it. Let me try one last search and see if it comes up. That's a no. I'm pretty sure it was either March or April. I'm sorry, I take it as a personal slight if I can't find something in a monthly report. Yeah, okay. Forget it. We'll find it at some point eventually someday. Somewhere. Online technology. PDFs out of them? In June, the online services team worked towards completing the social services backend overhaul. This will boost the performance and scalability of social functionalities, including chat, friends, and groups, and will enable the service to support a higher volume of concurrent users and requests. Additionally, it will simplify the integration of new features. For example, making things like creating and joining a party from within the Spectrum web portal possible. Huh? Are they actually improving the function? Are they connecting Spectrum to the game? What? I can't believe it. Could this possibly lead to org stuff eventually? That's... Man. Holy crap. I've been waiting to read a line like that for such a long time. Like the first was being able to add a friend from Spectrum. Okay, yeah, cool, that makes sense, sure. But being able to create a party and join one from Spectrum is very nice. Now, what happens when you try to join a party from Spectrum but you're not in game already? Does it boot up your game and then get you into the party? Or do you have to have the game open already? Either way, very happy that they are finally getting around to this because I can take you all the way back to CitizenCon 2015. In fact, let's do it. I love these tangents. I can't get over them. I think... Oh, is it 2015? It might have been 2014, actually. Arc Star Map, Million Mile High Club, Saber, Military Ship Squadron, modeling stuff, squadron features. Oh, it might have been 2014, actually. Or was it 2016? No, I think it was this one, 2014. Arena Commander. Turbulent, yep, here it is. Turbulent did a lot of the stuff for the early backend and tech and Spectrum and all that. But I didn't actually see it talked about here. No, this doesn't talk about... Geez, where was that? Was it 2016? I'm just not finding... I am not finding... CitizenCon 2016. I am not finding anything I'm looking for today, huh? Yes, here it is. This is their whole talk about Spectrum. Desktop application, mobile clients and tablet devices, real-time modern chat, private group and messaging. Like, it's good stuff. But it was definitely something that you were kind of looking forward to. Yeah, see, game integration, party management, friends and contacts, overlay integration, and they kind of talked about how it would connect across the website and be the in-game portal for all this stuff. This was 2016, man. Yeah, it's worked since then, but we were really hoping for some more stuff by now, and it's great to hear. Here's their soon. And they were talking about like private messaging and support and forums and stuff. We got all that stuff. So from this sort of big introduction of Spectrum, it's taken this long now to get start connecting it to the game more. I'm glad it is, but man, that was a wait. Don't go to 2016, the Sandworm. That's actually the second time today we've gone to 2016. Thank you, Dronix. You were on it. GII, yes, we're playing Jumptown with GII tomorrow. Anybody who is part of our org, GII, or wants to join an org, or just kind of wants to find a group of people to play with in Star Citizen, I will be jumping in on this very stream tomorrow after the podcast with Jack Axton to talk about, or to play Jumptown together and cause some trouble and hold things down. So if you want to join, now's the time. Okay. Where were we? The team also integrated a new version of Easy Anticheat and will soon begin testing for false positives, as well as testing the boot check feature on a limited sample size. Furthermore, the team progressed with potential features for Alpha 4.0. This included significant overhauls to the mission and marker systems, as well as the development of a player trade functionality, which align with the overarching objective of achieving server meshing. Wait, what? Player trade functionality. We haven't had a good way to trade stuff in this game yet. The best way is coming in 324, which is you have a hangar where you can now go into your party member's hangar and leave something for them and they can come get it later. That's trading, but it's not as good as what we would want. So it'd be cool if they're actually talking about a system to do that. Soon means decades to them. Well, all the stuff that was on their soon... The soon page there happened soon. Wherever the heck that was. I think it was before the terrible Polaris promotion. See, like all this stuff happened soon. Forums and chat notifications, private messaging, and friends. We had all of this within a year or two of this presentation, I believe. I think it's all launched with 3.0. So that wasn't bad. What they didn't say here was the ability to control your in-game status from Spectrum out of game, which is what we're seeing here. The networking team continued to work towards the first version of server meshing. This included testing various configurations for the mesh and the underlying cloud infrastructure while capturing critical performance information to help fine-tune and target bottlenecks. When though? Do I think we'll get the worm in 1.0? Absolutely not. I was thinking trade between players, yeah. Is there org hiring? How much does it pay to be a crewman? And are there benefits like dental? You will get benefits, but generally they only come in increased.
Tow insurance.
Huh?
We only cover tow insurance.
We only cover tow insurance. Also increased 30Ks, but we promise you'll have fun. And that's what matters, right? Fun crashing. All right, tech, art, and animation. The technical animation team continued to invest in a wide range of long-term tasks, facilitating improvements across both projects. For example, work progressed on the Put On Take Off initiative, which is close to completion. That's a little inappropriate, Star Citizen. Let's ask for consent first, yeah? Can't just start initiating. These animations will soon be integrated into the game and will significantly enhance the realism of character interactions and provide a more engaging player experience. I guess that is how people act in real life. Several creatures for Alpha 4.0 were finalized too. Several creatures. They keep saying that word, several. Do they know what that means? Tow insurance is important. One day you're moving a 34 SCU box and drop it on your foot. Oh my God. Imagine that they don't even make 34 SCU boxes. You're going to drop it on your foot? Breaking the rules. Enhancements were also made to the character customizer, including the successful integration of new heads. Does that make anybody angry in chat? I feel like every time we mention the character customizer, somebody gets a little annoyed with it. This enhancement will offer players more variety and customization options, further enriching personalization. Our ongoing collaboration with the SST and cinematics departments remains strong. This is the tech animation team. The focus on ensuring the technical implementation of animations and scene content is of the highest quality is unwavering. This synergy is crucial in maintaining the seamless integration of animations and ensuring a top-tier visual experience for our audience. The achievements of the technical animation team this past month are a testament to their hard work and dedication. As we move forward, we are confident that we will continue to reach new heights and deliver exceptional content for our players. New heights, huh? 10? Meh. I could use a new head. Is the tow insurance a tax write-off? Yeah. Ah. Do we have a charity? Like a tow unification charity? Donate here. We'll make sure your funds reach a tow somewhere in the world. I'm sorry. I'm sorry anybody who doesn't like toes. We talk about it a lot here. Not for any reason other than it's the end of the word tomatoes. Just to make that clear. You don't even like feet. You're trying to be funny. You meant feet are okay. You can't complain. You know what I find a problem is that you can't customize your feet in the character customizer. What are you doing, CIG? What are you doing? VFX team. Last month, the VFX team supported teams on deliverables planned for Alpha 3.24 and 4.0, including the RSI Zeus MK2. VFX also supported locations on new biome archetypes, including acidic caves, alongside new modules for Pyro. Finally, VFX progressed with tasks for several upcoming features, such as fire hazards, which we looked at, the resource network, and Pyro, which we have looked at for years now. The acidic caves thing, I think this is the first report it was mentioned in, and it was mentioned like 3 times. So they're pushing on it. If they've got VFX working on acidic caves, it looks like the locations team has closed out acidic caves, and lighting is working on acidic caves. This is coming soon. Here, they seem to be saying 4.0. but I guess, yeah, no, this wouldn't slip into 324. It's too late for that. But this is just one of those things that we remember, while things might slip off the roadmap, they'll definitely be added as well. Acidic caves being one of them. Can't say that's going to add any new gameplay, but it is a initiative they've been working on for some time. Now, I'm not going to pretend to think that I can find the one report out of last year where they talked about this, but maybe we'll get lucky here, yeah? Let's see. Let's see what comes up. Right? Ice caves, really. That's what we want. Okay. So they did talk about caves here, but not specifically not the part that I was looking for. I'm actually surprised that we found a hit on caves in one of these reports. Let me try another one, though. One of these here, they talk about the new caves coming up. This is about a year ago. Not in June. Can we try one more? July. Why acidic caves? To be honest, I thought we'd get acidic caves earlier, because the acid biome on Aberdeen? Ariel. But they actually took a while to get them in. I think they're just going through the different biomes for caves. So we'll get acidic caves, we'll get ice caves. We already have rock caves and sand caves. Just kind of consider the different biomes we already have on planets, and that's likely where they'll be headed. At some point we'll get lava caves, because they will have lava in the game. But we don't yet. Ooh, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna find this, which is okay. This is like a super obscure reference. It's not something I expected to find. But they have been working on caves, different archetypes, and yay, I guess. Yeah, they were just talking about general cave improvements at this time last year. You would never go in a real-life ice cave? Yeah, that sounds terrifying. Need a jungle biome like an Avatar? I believe the Oso system has a jungle. So this is one of the planets in the Oso system. That'll give you what you're looking for, I think. I have no idea where Oso is, though. Probably far away from wherever we are. Oso. Oh, it's not that far. It actually connects to Pyro. Look at that. So it's 2 jumps away. So yeah, in here, there is a jungle biome planet. That's the only one I know of. Maybe there are others. I'm sure Terra has what could be considered a jungle. But Oso has this, which is beautiful. You gonna gift me a pair of power gauntlets just so you can yell Space Tomato? Space Tomato! We actually have secret rings for all of the garden. Little rings that represent your fruit or vegetable, and if you touch them together, you guys turn into the fruit or vegetable that you identify as. It's truly a superpower. That's a perk that's included with the tow insurance, just so you're aware. Okay. So here is the lore maker. They answered some questions of lore that people have had recently, and this isn't really related to the monthly report, but it does answer some of the stuff that we were talking about there. I want to pick a couple of these questions or answers out from here, and we'll finish off the stream by answering them, and you guys can share your thoughts on what you thought of this episode. So the first question here, why haven't there been any new hero mission givers added in a while? The answer is, there have been a lot of discussions about NPCs lately as the team works with design to craft the ultimate 1.0 experience, while also looking beyond to future updates. We can't really get into specifics now, but yes, the general goal is to promote more interactions in order to help make the universe feel more alive. That being said, it's not a trivial thing to add characters to the game, so we've been trying to figure out how to approach this in a scalable way that we will be able to support beyond 1.0. Less on the mission front, but the narrative team has also been taking a larger role in developing the social AI behaviors in the PU. While the stories and characters slated for 1.0 are still being kept under wraps, we are aiming to start bringing improvements in personality to the various landing zones into patches sooner. And we did read that here with the narrative team. Part of this will fall onto narrative design, who further expand the presence of social AI in the universe. So they are As far as we can tell from the monthly reports, they're working on that. But if you go back to the last time we got a mission giver in this game, you'll see that it has been a long time. And I think that effect is similar to the effect with the FPS weapons. One of the biggest tells of Squadron 42 and how much work it has taken from Star Citizen at our expense is FPS weapons. If you look at every single update, just about, maybe not 3.3, nope, 3.3 as well, not 3.35, but every update just about, prior to 3.12, you'll see that there were weapons, whether ship or FPS related, coming every 3 months. New weapons. New weapons. One of these doesn't have new weapons. New weapons. This is the one without them, I think. So none in 3.9, but you move forward to 3.10. New weapons. 3.11. New weapons. 3.12. New weapons. And then there was just nothing. For 3 years straight. No new weapons. Except for a size 7 ship weapon somewhere in here. And now we get an ISC where they talk about weapons coming into the game. We see they're coming to 4.0. And I can confirm, I asked a couple people who were there what was going on with weapons. Why didn't we see them for a long time? Basically Squadron 42. And while they did some balance on weapons we were using, for the most part, they were working on the single player game. And I think similarly, the people who were building the mission givers were a lot more focused on NPCs and AI in Squadron. So you can go back here and you can see we got a couple of mission givers here towards the beginning of the 3.0 cycle. We got Recco here. We had several mission givers added in 3.0. Here's Constantine and Wallace Klim added in 3.4. You got Ticia Pacheco added in 3.5. And then I think they kind of just stopped doing mission givers after that. They did have a couple planned. I believe they were called... crap, I can't remember. One of them is actually in the game. He works at the bar in Microtech, but he doesn't give you any missions. Eddie Parr, I think is his name. And then there were also some mission givers that were planned for Orison. These two. Devin Bautista and Lisa Gibbs. And they were supposed to give you advocacy missions out at Orison. They never made it into the game. I'm sure they're in there somewhere, but they haven't been added. And I think part of that is because they realized, A, mission givers just can't run with the way the game works right now. The game does not work well. It's pretty unstable. Most of the AI can't react very well because of all that server load. So they just kind of stopped adding them, I think, because it wasn't worth the time. But also I'm betting those people moved over to Squadron 42 quite a bit. Yeah, the bartender guy. Is the patent that has been filed for GTA 6 about server meshing and server hopping going to affect Star Citizen? It really looks like CIG will not own or be able to use this tech. Well, what do you mean by this tech? CIG won't own the tech that Rockstar makes, but they'll own their server meshing. I don't think what they make is going to affect what Star Citizen is doing. I just think it adds a lot to the context and narrative of what server meshing is and whether or not it's actually a feasible step forward for gaming in general. GTA is based on Unreal Engine. What? Doesn't Rockstar have their own engine? There's no way they use Unreal. That'd be crazy. That would be very dumb on their part, in my opinion. In my humble tomato opinion. I hope that they have their own engine for that kind of stuff. Otherwise, why would they have to get a patent for their technology? Maybe they're building it on. When do I think another banger lore video with me and Astropub? We've been talking about it. We want to do one. Rage, that's right. They use Rage. We want to do another lore video, but the timing is hard because he's in Texas and I'm in Turkey. So we're going to do one at some point. Just got to find the time. Yeah, they're not using Star Engine. It won't affect Star Citizen, whatever they do. Okay. What else is here? Lost colony ships, people alliance locations, hunt for storm walls. This is probably an interesting one because of Nyx. Is there a space station the People's Alliance lives in? Do they have any sort of militia or navy? Have they built anything beyond Levski? Answer: the People's Alliance notably inhabit the asteroid base of Levski, which was the site of their proposed new society established to escape from the authoritarianism of the Messers. They would have a security force to help protect Levski, but in keeping with their general ethos, it would be purely defensive force and probably use lethal force as a last resort. As we start diving into the Nyx as a system, fictionally it would make sense that they would have settlements outside of Levski in the system to help sustain themselves, whether it's mining outposts or the like. But we'll have to keep you posted. So that's pointing towards mission possibilities in Nyx. This is the main faction you'll be working with in Nyx. This isn't a ton of information, but expect more Nyx talk over the next year. I think that is going to start to become more in our face, especially after Pyro releases. Oh, it's Zirin that asked this question. Zirin, hey, got that GII. Hey, folks, what did I say? If you want to be a part of GII, it's a good org to join. The person who asked this question's in our org. And you can get in if you type in !org in the chat. Man, this is a very outdated document, though. Don't read this. Oh my gosh. These ranks are like... Oh, yeah, we gotta update this. But yeah, that's about all I had for you, folks. Thanks for coming to this monthly report. June's looking hot and spicy, and I'm looking forward to July's report. That's literally every time I read a monthly report. All right, looking forward to the next month's report. Hopefully we'll be playing 324 before that, though, as a little distraction. Turkey, why? My wife is Turkish. She's from here. GTA 6 has been in development for over 10 years. Arguably, so had UE5 creation engine, but it has nothing to do with server meshing in Star Citizen. Yeah. Will base building eventually progress to the ability to build our own space stations? They've talked about wanting to, but it's not confirmed yet. Didn't a year ago they were working on Nyx? Yeah, they've been working on Nyx on and off. In fact, it's on the roadmap. You can see that they've gotten some work done on it. If you search for the Nyx system planet and mission setup, really it wasn't much. It was just 13 weeks of work back in 2021, but I think they've probably touched on it since then a couple times. Hey, thanks for coming to the stream. Appreciate you all. Thanks for chilling here and listening to me ramble about this game that is about stuff that doesn't even exist yet. It's good times. Once a month, every month. Please attempt to find out more leaks on ships through your spies at CIG. My moles. Of course. Of course. There's no Star Citizen live today. They, unforeseen circumstances, they said. Ooh, all right, folks. Good times all around. Where are we headed from here? Gonna jump so high tomorrow, Vassin? Hell yeah. We're jumping the town tomorrow, folks. Come and join us if you'd like, if you're looking for some gameplay. And if you're not, if you're just looking for talking, the podcast is also tomorrow for anybody who is a supporter on YouTube, Patreon, or Twitch. That's right, Twitch subscribers, you're included. Just hop on the Discord. You'll see the announcement. We'll be talking about cargo stuff tomorrow. Cargo hauling, cargo missions, cargo. Anything else in between. After that, I should have a supporter exclusive video coming out mid next week about features that seemingly disappear and then show back up, like hover mode or hover mode. Now, the Hurston security armor was one of those. The Volt weapons is one of those. Hover mode is one of those. So we'll be talking about those in general in the supporter mission. And then the tomato talk that's coming out next week. So I'll have a feature watch probably about something from this monthly report. I don't know yet, maybe scanning and radar. But next week's tomato talk is going to be about basically why this game just isn't for some people. Because one of the biggest comments I'm seeing nowadays on my videos about 324 is that I don't want a second job. I don't want a game that makes me load stuff or takes time to do stuff. And like, at this point, I'm like, okay, I've responded to enough comments. I'm just going to make a video to let people know that you might not like this game. And that's okay. You could even avoid the parts of the game that you don't like. But in general, I think it's worth talking about the design of this game and where it's headed and warning people that like, don't buy into it. You know, if like, look at the things that they have planned and make sure that is something that you're interested in, because people are going to regret buying this game if they get into it and don't realize just what direction it's going in. So that should be a fun video to make. We'll see how the comment section is there. But I'm done for today. I hope you enjoyed all this, folks. I hope you had a good time. Learned something interesting, got some entertainment, saw some trolls, beat some trolls, maybe trolled a little bit yourself. Anybody who is muted because you said dumb stuff during the stream, don't say dumb stuff next time, okay? We want you to be here. We want you to have fun. Just like, keep the good vibes. Love y'all. Have a great day. I'm going to send you over to Avenger 1. Tell him what's up. Give him the toes raid. And give him some love. See you next time, folks. Bye.